Chapter 159. The old man's breathing tightened. Excitement was written all over his face. He rubbed his fists and said with a smile, "Little girl, is that marrow-cleansing liquid really that effective?" Then this old man plans to live in this place from now on and bathe in the marrow-cleansing liquid every day. His expression as he looked at the marrow-cleansing liquid was as if he was facing a top-grade beauty. His gaze was lustful and wretched, as if he wanted to strip off the clothes of that top-grade beauty. Yin Xingya's face was filled with black lines. She subconsciously wanted to pretend that she didn't know this old man. She had never seen an old man look at a pool of water with a lustful gaze. This was too embarrassing. Yin Luofeng was silent for a moment before he raised his lips and said, "If you like, you can come here and bathe in the marrow-cleansing liquid. However, you're already old, and the marrow-cleansing liquid does not have much of an effect on you. So I have prepared another gift for you." As soon as she finished speaking, Yin Luofeng reached into her sleeves and pulled out a vermilion fruit. When the old man saw the vermilion fruit, he couldn't help but be stunned. Red fruit? Wasn't this the red fruit that the people from the medical pavilion had given her? It was said that it took a year for the red fruit to bear fruit. It had only been half a year, and the red fruit had already successfully borne fruit. Yin Luofeng shrugged his shoulders. In theory, this should be a red fruit, but I'm used to calling it a spirit fruit. As for its effects, you'll know when you eat it. The old man didn't hesitate. He took the fruit Yin Luofeng passed him and took a bite. Immediately, a fragrant aroma flowed through his mouth, causing his eyes to suddenly brighten. In a few bites, he finished the spirit fruit. This red fruit tastes pretty good. When the time comes, prepare more of them and put them in my study. When I'm greedy, I can use them to satisfy my cravings. The old man wiped his mouth, his chrysanthemum-like old face full of smiles. Yin Luofeng's face darkened. What did this old fellow think the spirit fruit was? To satisfy his cravings? If his words were to spread, there would probably be many people on the continent who would gang up on him. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful wave of spiritual energy rushed into the old man's dantian and fiercely collided against the barrier. In an instant, the originally solid barrier was like a thin piece of paper. It was broken by the powerful spiritual energy and reached a new realm. The old man was dumbfounded. Yin Xingya was stunned. Even the members of the Steel Flame Legion were astonished. They looked at the dumbfounded old man, not understanding what was going on. Why did General Yin break through without any warning? Looks like the effects of this spirit fruit are pretty good. The girl's lazy laughter entered his ears, causing the stiff old man to raise his head mechanically. His voice began to tremble at this moment, and his words were clearly filled with disbelief. Well, what's going on? That barrier of his had existed for many years, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not advance a single level. But why did he actually break through now? This was simply impossible. I said before, not only will I help Second Uncle stand up, I will also think of a way to help you break through. Yin Luofeng chuckled. His demonic eyes stared at Yin Luofeng as the corners of his lips curled up. Now, I have fulfilled my promise. Boom! Thunder pierced through the ears. After receiving Yin Luofeng's acknowledgement, Yin Luofeng was once again dumbfounded. He thought back to how he had asked Yin Luofeng to give him the red fruit as a snack. It was simply ridiculous. Chapter 160. A spiritual fruit that could allow advanced spiritualists to break through is much rarer than the simple red fruit. Perhaps his granddaughter could only produce one of them. Ha ha! Suddenly, a burst of crazy laughter resounded throughout the underground training ground. His laughter was filled with madness, but it also revealed the excitement in his heart. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since I broke through? Gao Tu, you dog emperor, just you wait. I'll make you pay for everything that happened back then. Yin Luofeng glanced at the crazy old man. Then he looked at the people from the army. There are 3 people from the Iron Steel Army that broke through to become paramount spiritualists, and 2 from the Flame Army. The 5 of you can come forward to receive a spiritual fruit, but I suggest that you consume it when you're an intermediate high spiritualist to use it to break through. The old man, who was laughing hysterically, was caught off guard when he heard Yun Luofeng's words. As a result, he could not hold back his laughter and choked on his own saliva. His face flushed, and he coughed violently. B** starred. How many F** king's spiritual fruits do you have? The old man finally caught his breath and glared at Yun Luofeng furiously. Earlier on, the young lady said that she was going to give him a surprise, but he thought that it was more like a shock. If he was not careful, he might not be able to withstand the surprise and suffer a heart attack. Yun Luofeng kept quiet for some time before he answered conservatively. I'll probably be able to give one to each member of the Iron Flame Army. Yun Luofeng's heart twitched when he heard what Yun Luofeng said, and it almost stopped beating. He initially thought that Yun Luofeng would only have one of such a magical fruit at most. Who knew that the young fellow would be able to get so many of them without a sound? Enough for each member of the Iron Flame Army to have one? As if he thought that Yun Luofeng was not shocked enough, Yun Luofeng added, even if these fruits are used up, I can still get more. Therefore, if the Yun family's protectors break through to become advanced spiritualists, they can also come to me to receive a spiritual fruit, provided that they're loyal to the Yun family. Yun Luo completely went crazy. He once again grabbed Yun Luofeng's clothes and said angrily, You little girl, why didn't you take out such a good thing earlier to show your filial respect to your grandfather? Quick, give me another 180, the more the better. In any case, I won't complain about having more. The corners of Yun Luofeng's eyebrows slightly slanted upwards. He raised his hand and slapped away Yun Luo's claw. The spirit fruit will only be effective the first time you eat it. After that, no matter how much you eat, it won't be of much use. Can't I eat it like a fruit? The old man rolled his eyes and reached out his hand domineeringly. Quick, hand over the spirit fruit. Yun Luofeng's heart twitched. She took out 2 more spirit fruits from her sleeve and placed them in the old man's hand. What else? I only brought 3 with me. I don't have any more now. I'll give you all 3. I'll bring the rest to your study tomorrow. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Yun Luo looked at her suspiciously and asked doubtfully, Are you telling the truth? More real than pearls. Yun Luofeng nodded with a sincere look on her face. If that's the case, I'll let you off for now. Yun Luo kept the spirit fruits and scoffed. Remember, if you have anything good in the future, show your filial respect to your grandfather first. Chapter 161. Yun Luofeng finally heaved a sigh of relief and replied with a smile. Understood. In the future, no matter what good things I have, I'll be the first to bring them to you. That's more like it. The old man smiled in satisfaction. All right, I won't disturb you anymore. Train well. I'll be leaving first. Ha. Yun Luofeng laughed heartily and walked out of the training room. Second uncle. After Yun Luofeng saw that the old man had left, he turned to look at the handsome and elegant man. I still have 5 spiritual fruits here, so you can distribute them to the members who have become advanced spiritualists. If anyone else becomes an advanced spiritualist in the future, remember to inform me. Yin Qingya smiled. All right. By the way, second uncle, remember to take the medicine I gave you on time. Tomorrow, I have something to do and will have to leave Long Yuan country. When I return, I'll help you repair your dantian and restore your strength. Yin Qingya was stunned. She looked at Yun Luofeng with excitement. Xiao Fenger, you said that I can recover my strength? That's right. Yun Luofeng nodded. Not only can I help you recover your strength, I can also make you stronger. The prerequisite is that you can't stop using the medicine I give you. When I return, I'll be able to help you recover your strength. At this moment, Yin Qingya's heart was in turmoil. Ever since he had been injured 10 years ago, he had never thought that he would be able to recover his strength. Now that he was able to stand up again, he was already satisfied. However, he had never expected that his little niece would have the ability to help him recover his strength. This was something he did not even dare to think about. Xiao Fenger, I really don't know how to thank you. Yun Luofeng blinked and smiled evilly. We're family. There's no need to thank me. Second uncle, no matter what, I'll cure you completely. Looking at the young girl's determined eyes, Yin Qingya smiled. His handsome face was filled with confidence and pride. Xiao Fenger, with you in the Yin family, Why should we worry about not being strong? Second, Uncle believes in you and will wait for your return. The members of the Steel Flame Legion were also filled with gratitude, and their determination deepened. There was no other reason than that Yun Luofeng had given them such a precious treasure to consume. It was also because of the spiritual fruits that those who had yet to break through to advanced spiritualists were motivated to work hard. Perhaps even Yun Luofeng did not expect her actions today to make everyone in the army work so hard that they would forget to eat and sleep just to break through to paramount spiritualists. The next day, dawn. A furious roar resounded through the skies of the Yun family, reverberating for a long time. Yin Luofeng, you damn girl, you actually dared to run away. When you return, see if I don't smack your butt. This voice was heard by everyone in the Yun family, causing them to jump in fright. They did not understand how the eldest miss had provoked the general, causing the general to lose his temper. It seemed that ever since the general came back, he had been infuriated by eldest miss every 2 or 3 days. They were really afraid that one day the general would be angered to death by her. Yin Luo was furious. That girl had promised to deliver 180 spirit fruits to his study today. In the end, he had waited for an entire morning, but the young girl had not appeared. Unable to wait any longer, he had personally gone to look for her. However, he had only found a letter in the young girl's room. The letter stated that the little girl had run away from home. Of course, Yin Luo was just joking. He could not bear to actually smack Yin Luofeng's butt. Even if the young girl lost a single strand of hair, his heart would ache for a long time, let alone beating her up. Chapter 162. Flowing Gold Country. It was once one of the most powerful countries on the mainland. However, a few years ago, the general of Flowing Gold Country, Ibu Fan, had been defeated by Yun Luo and was forced to hand over the third prince, Yi Ling, as a hostage. From then on, Flowing Gold Country could only exist as a vassal country to Long Yuan Country. However, in just half a year's time, an organization called the Windfall Pavilion had suddenly appeared in Flowing Gold Country. It was said that the Windfall Pavilion had information on every country on the mainland and was extremely powerful. In just half a year's time, they had become a household name, and their name had spread far and wide. However, many organizations had wanted to find out who the pavilion master of the Windfall Pavilion was. However, the pavilion master was very mysterious. No one even knew her name, let alone see her face. At this moment, in the Windfall Pavilion, when Yun Luofeng had just stepped into the hall, a figure as light as the wind quickly pounced towards Yun Luofeng. "My lady, I've missed you so much." Qing Yin became excited the moment she saw Yun Luofeng. Unfortunately, when the white-clothed girl in front of her saw her pouncing figure, she dodged to the side without a second thought. With a plop, Qing Yin didn't have time to stop her steps. She was caught off guard and fell to the ground. "My lady," the little servant girl raised her little face and stared resentfully at Yun Luofeng. "Qing Yin, I'm here on official business. I don't have time to catch up with you." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips, and a demonic smile hung on his lips. The little girl before him was the newly promoted commander of the Flame Regiment, Qing Yin. In the last half a year, she'd sent Yi Ling and Qing Yin to Flowing Gold Kingdom to establish the Windfall Pavilion and gather information in the world for the sake of finding the true culprit that had killed her parents. Now that she'd almost made some progress, she'd rushed to Flowing Gold Kingdom just now. "That's right. Where's Yi Ling? Why haven't I seen him come out?" Yun Luofeng scanned his surroundings but did not see Yi Ling. An undetectable light flashed across his jet-black eyes. Qing Yan's expression changed slightly when she heard this. "My lady, Yi Ling has been discovered. What's going on?" Yun Luofeng turned to look at Qing Yan. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Qing Yan bit her lip and a hint of anger appeared on her delicate features. A few days ago, Yi Ling had bumped into his half-brother, the second Prince Luo, on the street. Luo had recognized him, and his arrival in Flowing Gold Country had been exposed. "My lady, do you know how outrageous his brother is? His talent and strength were clearly inferior to Yi Ling's, but he relied on the fact that his mother was doted on and insulted Yi Ling. How infuriating. Seeing the young servant girl's angry eyes, Yin Luofeng smiled faintly and asked, Yi Ling was humiliated, not you. Why are you so angry? Don't tell me you and Yi Ling. Miss Qing, Yin hurriedly interrupted Yin Luofeng. She angrily stamped her foot, her face flushed red. What nonsense are you talking about? Yi Ling and I are only companions. That's why I can't bear to see others humiliate him. It's really not what you think. Is that so? Yin Luofeng smiled devilishly, and his jet-black eyes fell upon Qin Yin. Qin Yin, even though Yi Ling is the third prince of flowing gold country, you are no ordinary little servant girl. You're someone I trust. If the two of you are truly in love with each other, I will make the decision on your behalf regarding this marriage. Qin Yan's heart trembled fiercely, and her clear eyes were filled with deep emotion. Chapter 163. Ever since the young miss had failed to hang herself, she had changed into a completely different person. However, the young miss now not only made her feel very reliable, she liked her even more now. Young miss, I know that you're doing this for my own good. However, even if he and I are in love, the Emperor of Flowing Gold Country would never allow it. The imperial family values a marriage of equal social status. A marriage of equal social status? Yin Luofeng laughed gently. Both of you are members of the Steel Flame Regiment, so this is what they call a marriage of equal social status. If the two of you truly love each other, the Emperor of Flowing Gold Country would never be able to stop you. My Yin Luofeng's people are never unworthy of anyone. If this is a one-sided love, I cannot help you. After all, matters of the heart cannot be forced. Qin Yin nodded and a bitter smile appeared on her delicate face. Young miss, I understand. Yin Luofeng patted Qin Yan's shoulder soundlessly. Let's go. Take me to Yi Ling. I have a few things to understand from him. Yes, young Mississippi. Under Yin Luofeng's reassurance, Qin Yin regained her cheerfulness. She blinked and giggled as she walked out of Zephyr Pavilion. Yin Luofeng shook his head in exasperation as he stared at the little servant girl's joyful figure. A demonic smile appeared on the corners of his lips before he followed Qin Yin out without any hesitation. In Flowing Gold Country, once a prince comes of age, he will leave the imperial palace and establish his own family. At this moment, Yi Ling was sitting in his study in the third prince's mansion. He was holding a book in his hand, but his mind was not on the book at all. He looked rather absent-minded. Just then, a squeaking sound suddenly rang out from the side of his feet, instantly attracting his attention. When Yi Ling noticed the white hamster squeaking at his feet, his eyes widened and he asked in astonishment, Milk tea, what are you doing here? Could it be? As if remembering something, Yi Ling's eyes filled with excitement. He slowly turned his head and his gaze gradually turned towards the door. In that instant, the young girl in white who was leaning against the door entered his sight. The young girl crossed her arms and leaned lazily against the door railing. The corners of her lips curled into a beautiful smile. Her robes were as white as snow and fluttered in the gentle breeze. Yi Ling, long time no see. I didn't expect you to become the third prince of the Flowing Gold Kingdom. Yi Ling withdrew the excitement in his eyes and replaced it with respect. He hurriedly rose from his seat and greeted the young lady at the door. Master, why have you come? Yin Luofeng smiled evilly. Her white robes fluttered like a gentle breeze and landed on the chair in front of the desk. What? You don't welcome me? The young girl brushed her white robes and crossed her legs. She picked up the brush on the table and played with it in her hand. She looked at Yi Ling with an evil smile in her black eyes, lazy and wanton. However, I think you're doing a good job as the third prince. She scanned the surroundings of the study, and the smile on her lips deepened. Yi Ling laughed bitterly. Master, don't tease me. What's so good about the third prince? It's not as glorious as being the deputy pavilion master of the Windfall Pavilion. Mistress, I'd rather be the deputy pavilion master of the Windfall Pavilion than be the third prince. The girl burst into laughter and raised her eyebrows slightly. Tell me, what happened? You've suddenly returned to the Flowing Gold Kingdom. Did the royal family not suspect you? Chapter 164. Yi Ling shook her head, her heart filled with bitterness. I told them that Long Yuan country had sent me to seduce the eldest lady of the general's residence, and I took the opportunity to escape. They did not suspect me and allowed me to return to the country. However, my return has offended some people's interests, and they have sent many assassins to kill me. Fortunately, my cultivation base has improved by leaps and bounds over the past 6 months, so the assassins have not succeeded. Yin Luofeng lowered his eyes and continued to play with the brush in his hand. An undetectable glint flashed across his dark eyes. Yi Ling, how is the matter I asked you to investigate? Who was the one who killed my parents that year? More than 10 years ago, the Yin couple had come up with a plan when they were fighting against Flowing Gold Country. Unfortunately, this plan had been leaked by Prime Minister Mu and was used by the enemy, causing them to fall into a trap. However, the person who had killed the couple was someone else. That person must be related to the royal family of Flowing Gold Country. Yin Luofeng had sent Yi Ling to Flowing Wind Country to find a real killer. There is some progress in this matter. Yi Ling glanced at Yin Luofeng. Give me some time, and I will find out the truth. However, I can tell you that this matter is related to Empress Rong. Empress Rong was the mother of the second prince, Yi Luo. She had even instigated the emperor to send Yi Ling to Long Yuan country as a hostage. During this time, she had helped her son become the crown prince. Obviously, her efforts were about to pay off. It was at this time that Yi Ling returned. How could Empress Rong not hate her? If it were not for the fact that the entire court supported Yi Ling and that General Yi Bufan was Yi Ling's uncle, her son would have become the crown prince long ago. Yi Ling, who had been taken as a hostage, had dared to return to the country. Seeing that her efforts were about to be wasted, Imperial concubine Rong could no longer sit still. This was the reason for the assassination every night. What Yin Luofeng did not expect was that even the death of his parents had something to do with her. A murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Yin Luofeng stopped playing with the brush and said, Yi Ling, I will be staying in Flowing Gold Country for the time being. However, it would be inconvenient for me to stay in Drifting Wind Pavilion. Therefore, I will stay in your third prince's residence and use this opportunity to find out who killed my parents. Yes, master, Yi Ling replied respectfully. From the moment he had pledged his loyalty to her half a year ago, his life belonged to her. Even if she wanted him to destroy the entire Flowing Gold Country, he would not refuse any of her orders. During the time I stay in your mansion, don't call me master. Yin Luofeng's eyes flashed a few times, and his lips curled into a smile. You could just call me by my name. In the Long Yuan country, Yin Luofeng's name could be said to be a household name. There was no one who did not know of her. But now that she was in the Flowing Gold Country, there wouldn't be anyone who had heard of her reputation as trash. Hence, she allowed Yi Ling to call her by her name. Yi Ling hesitated for a moment. I'll call you Miss Yin. I really can't call you by your name. He didn't dare to offend his superior and call his master's name directly. Even if he was given 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to do so. All right. Yin Luofeng slowly stood up and stretched lazily. I'm a little tired. Help me prepare a room first. I'm going to rest for a while. If there's any news, notify me. With that, she strode out of the study. Chapter 165. What did you say? In the brothel, there was singing and dancing. Inside a private room, a handsome man was hugging women on his left and right. He narrowed his eyes as he stared at his confidant standing in front of him. A sinister light flashed across his eyes. My third royal brother has always had his eyes on the top of his head. Did a woman really stay in the third prince's residence yesterday? Reporting to the second prince, this matter is absolutely true. I did see a beautiful woman dressed in white enter the third prince's residence. Furthermore, that woman was extremely beautiful, even more beautiful than the top courtesan of Red Flower Brothel. The confidant licked his lips in a vulgar manner, his mind still recalling that beautiful face. If he could obtain such a woman, even if it was just for one night, he would be perfectly satisfied. Oh, Yi Luo's eyes brightened. Even more beautiful than the top courtesan of Red Flower Brothel. That boy Yi Ling actually has such luck with women. However, I think that woman was staying in the second prince's residence without any status. She must not be from a good family. She must be the new top courtesan of some brothel. This confidant had followed him for many years and had enjoyed many beautiful women with him. But now, the woman who was openly staying in the second prince's residence was praised by him like this. She must be an extremely beautiful woman. Only he had the right to enjoy such a beautiful woman. Who did Yi Ling think he was? Immediately, send an invitation to Yi Ling. Tell him that I invite him to the residence for a gathering. Yes, Your Royal Highness the second prince. The confidant joined his fists and retreated from the luxurious private room. It was as if the words of his trusted aide had made Yi Luo's mind become active and made him lose interest in the beauties around him. He waved his hand to dismiss the women around him, and a greedy glint flashed across his glowing eyes. He was very curious as to how beautiful that woman was. Even the top courtesan of Red Flower Brothel was outshone by her. Early morning. The morning light shone through the entire residence. It was so warm that it made people feel happy. As soon as Yun Luofeng entered the courtyard, he saw the handsome young man sitting in the pavilion. The young man's gaze was fixed on a certain spot in the courtyard, and there was an undercurrent in his eyes. She followed the youth's gaze, and in an instant, the little servant girl who was playing in the stream fell into her eyes. In that instant, she came to a sudden realization. So this little girl was not having a one-sided love? These two people seemed to have a chance. Yi Ling, she raised the corner of her lips and called out softly. Inside the pavilion, the youth who was staring blankly at the smoke was pulled back from his thoughts by this voice. He hurriedly came back to his senses and turned to the beautiful young lady who was walking towards him. He was a little apprehensive in his heart. Master, you've come? Yi Ling, you like Qingyan? Ah. Yi Ling was stunned by Yun Luofeng's straightforwardness. A crimson blush flashed across his fair face, and his fingers tugged at his robes nervously. I only think that Qingyan is very cute, like a little sister. I don't. Yi Ling, I've experienced many things. There are some things that can never be hidden from my eyes. Yun Luofeng turned his gaze away from Qingyan and slowly turned towards Yi Luo. He asked, I'll ask you one thing. You are the third prince of Flowing Gold Country, and Qingyan is only a little servant girl. If your father opposes you, what choice would you make? Yi Ling fell silent, and his lips curled into a bitter smile. Father? Can he be considered a father? No one can stop me from doing what I want to do, including him. Chapter 166. When she said her last sentence, Yi Ling's eyes were filled with determination, and her tone was unyielding. She had the courage to not fear anyone. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow. Yi Ling, although you and Qingyan are both my subordinates, but compared to you who had plotted against me, Qingyan is more important to me. She may be a servant, but in reality, she is no different from my family. In the years before my grandfather returned, she was the only one who never left me and even used her body to block the attacks of others for me. I know, Yi Ling smiled. In these 2 years, even though I was a hostage, there were times when I was allowed out for a short period of time under the supervision of the palace guards. Once, I saw you being bullied and beaten on the streets. It was Qingyan who used her body to protect you. When I saw this scene, my heart was filled with admiration for her. I never thought that I would have the chance to work with her one day. That servant was loyal to her master, stubborn and tenacious. Perhaps it was because of this that he, who had always had his eyes on the top of his head, had set his sights on her. It's good that you understand. Yun Luofeng nodded. If you hurt Qingyan in the future, I won't let you off. However, other than this matter with Qingyan, I will stand by your side and give you a chance to kill your enemy with your own hands. Yi Ling's heart trembled, and a complicated mix of emotions welled up in his heart. Half a year ago, he had helped the emperor of Long Yuan country to plot against her. He never thought that she would disregard the past and not only give him unparalleled power, she even gave him a chance to kill his enemy with his own hands. As for himself, he was afraid that he would never be able to repay her kindness in this lifetime. Your Highness, the third prince. Just as Yi Ling was sighing in his heart, a servant hurried over and respectfully handed an invitation to Yi Ling. "The second prince has sent you an invitation." Yi Ling's face darkened, and he took the invitation from his servant. After reading the contents of the invitation, his expression turned even uglier. "What happened?" Yun Luo Feng raised an eyebrow and turned his gaze towards Yi Ling as he asked. Yi Ling took a deep breath and said, "Yi Luo has invited me to his residence for a gathering." And then, if it was just an invitation, Yi Ling wouldn't have been so angry. Hearing Yun Luofeng's question, Yi Ling pursed his thin lips tightly, and a complicated look appeared in his eyes. "He asked me to bring you along." Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and smiled evilly. "Since someone has invited us with such hospitality, it would be inexcusable for us not to go." Mas. Yi Ling had originally wanted to address Yun Luofeng as his master, but he suddenly remembered that there was still a servant in the courtyard who had come to deliver the news. He swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue and sighed helplessly. "Miss Yin, you probably don't know this Yi Luo's personality. This fellow is extremely lustful. Aside from visiting brothels, he has also kidnapped countless young girls from good families. Judging from his tone, he must have seen you come to my residence and become interested in you." "So what?" Yun Luofeng chuckled, and there was an evil smile in his eyes. "Yi Ling, let's go. Take me to see that so-called second prince." Seeing that Yun Luofeng had made up his mind, Yi Ling did not say anything more and nodded slightly. All right. He was very confident in his master, but when he thought of Yi Luo's wretched look, he was very displeased. Was his master someone that a scum like him could spy on? However, Yi Ling also knew that the reason why Yun Luofeng had invited him was because Yi Ling was Empress Rong's son, and Empress Rong was related to the couple's death. Chapter 167. Flowing Gold Country. On the bustling street, Yun Luofeng, who was walking amongst the crowd, seemed to have noticed something. She slowly turned her head and frowned at the bustling crowd behind her. "Master, what's the matter?" Yi Ling saw that Yun Luofeng had stopped, and a trace of confusion flashed across her eyes. She turned to look at her. Yun Luofeng looked away and shook her head. Nothing. She did not know if it was just her imagination, but she felt that ever since she left Long Yuan country, someone had been following her. But every time she turned around, she could not see the figure following her. Could it be that she had been too tired recently and was hallucinating? Yun Luofeng rubbed her forehead. "Let's continue walking." "All right." Yi Ling's eyes still carried a sense of doubt. However, when he saw that Yun Luofeng had no intention of answering his question, he did not probe any further. His handsome features sank as he said, "Master, we'll be arriving soon. When the time comes, remember to stay away from that scum, Yi Luo." Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile at Yi Ling's reminder. Her smile was languid and demonic as she continued walking. As Empress Rong was highly favored by the emperor, compared to the cold and cheerless third prince's palace, the second prince's palace was bustling with visitors. Countless rascals tried to build a good relationship with the royal family, so that they could be put in an important position in the future. At this moment, in the courtyard, Yi Luo was hugging women on both sides and flirting with the women next to him. His expression was vulgar, and even his hands were placed on the women's sensitive parts. The nobles of Flowing Gold Country seemed to be used to this, and no one criticized Yi Luo for being offensive. Suddenly, Yi Luo's eyes narrowed, and he stared fixedly in a certain direction. A deep sense of awe appeared in his eyes. The crowd followed his gaze, and in an instant, a snow-white dress fell into their eyes. Their eyes were as shocked as Yi Luo's. This young girl was very young, around 14 or 15 years of age. Her face was extremely beautiful, and her robes were whiter than snow and fluttered in the wind. At that moment, their breathing stopped for a moment, and even their hearts almost couldn't calm down. There was a smile on the young girl's face from beginning to end. She was bewitching and wanton, and her pair of pitch-black eyes were like the stars in the night sky. One couldn't see the bottom of them at a glance, but they were deeply attracted by her eyes, unable to be pulled away. Where did such a beautiful girl come from? And by the side of the third prince? Could she be his concubine? As for why he called the girl in white a concubine, that was because even though the third prince was not favored by the emperor, he was still very talented. As a noble grandson of the emperor, his wife had to be a princess or a minister. An unknown girl was only qualified to be a concubine. Third royal brother, you're finally here. Ha ha ha. Yi Luo laughed heartily as he walked towards Yiling. His face carried a hypocritical smile as he said, "All these years you were a hostage. I've missed you dearly. I've even begged Royal Father many times to take you back. Unfortunately, Royal Father never had the guts to ask Long Yuan country for you." In the face of Yi Luo's hypocrisy, Yi Ling sneered. "Is that so? Then I really have to thank you." "Ha ha, there's no need for us to be so polite." Yi Luo laughed and tried to pat Yi Ling's shoulder. But just as his hand was about to land on Yi Ling's shoulder, Yi Ling moved to the side and avoided his touch. Chapter 168. Faced with Yi Ling's actions, a vicious light flashed across Yi Luo's eyes, but the smile on his face did not change. "Royal brother, long time no see. Why are you so distant from me?" "That's right. I wonder who this lady is." His gaze turned towards Yun Luofeng, and a stunned look appeared in his eyes. Yi Ling's face sank. "Second royal brother, Lady Yun is not someone you can violate." Hee hee. Yi Luo laughed evilly and said, "Third royal brother, I didn't think that you would protect your woman like this. I don't have any other intentions. I just want to know which family's daughter this lady is." Hearing Yi Luo refer to his master as his woman, Yi Ling's heart almost stopped beating in fright. He quickly turned to look at the young girl and sighed in relief when he saw that she was not angry. "This damn brat actually dared to tease me and master like this. If master gets angry, my little life will be over." For some reason, when Yi Luo said those words, Yi Ling felt a chill run down his spine, as if a pair of cold eyes were staring at him from the shadows. It sent a chill down his spine and made every hair on his body stand on end. "Yi Luo, be more respectful when you speak." A trace of anger appeared on Yi Ling's face. "If you say such things again, don't blame me for being impolite." "Ha ha." Yi Luo laughed disapprovingly. "Yi Ling, don't think that I don't know this woman's background. She's just a girl from brothel. Which family's daughter would stay in a prince's residence without any status? I just wanted to test you with a question. I didn't think that you would fly in such a rage out of humiliation. I will definitely report this matter to Imperial Father." Girl from a brothel? When the young men heard Yi Luo's words, their eyes were no longer as stunned as they had been at the beginning. Instead, they stared at her with lewd and vulgar gazes. She was just a girl from a brothel. Spending a bit of money would make her strip naked and lie on the bed waiting to be taken. A woman like this was not worthy of their respect. "Woman," Yi Luo turned to look at Yun Luofeng and licked his dry lips. "Being my concubine is better than following Yi Ling. Even though your status is low and you can't obtain the status of a prince's consort, I can give you plenty of love. I guarantee that no one in this prince's residence will dare to bully you. How about it?" Only he, the son of the empress, had the right to possess such a beautiful woman. Yi Ling was nothing. Yi Ling finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She clenched her fist tightly and swung it towards Yi Luo with an irresistible force. Bang! Just as Yi Ling's fist was about to reach Yi Luo, a pair of legs kicked towards Yi Luo at an even faster speed. The crowd only heard a muffled sound as his body was thrown out. The girl lifted her foot and stepped on Yi Ling's chest. She looked down at him from above. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear a single word you just said. Can you say it again?" Even though the white-robed young lady was apologizing, everyone could feel the threat from her body. There was a devilish smile on her face, and her black eyes were wild and arrogant. "Men, capture this woman for me." Yi Luo held his breath and roared angrily with an ashen face. No one in the crowd thought that the banquet had not even begun and the two parties were already fighting. A wave of orderly and powerful footsteps suddenly rang out, instantly surrounding Yun Luofeng and Yi Ling. All the guards pulled out their weapons, and the atmosphere was cold and solemn. Chapter 169. Yun Luofeng glanced evilly at the guards who had gathered around them. The corners of his lips curled into an angle as he spoke insolently. "If you want him dead, then you can make your move. Of course, just a few of you aren't a match for me." Bang! As he spoke, Yin Luo Feng pressed his foot on Yi Luo's chest a little harder. Instantly, the sound of bones cracking rang in everyone's ears. Ah! Then, Yi Luo's mournful cry echoed through the air. It was heart-wrenching and made everyone's hair stand on end. You ambushed me. Yi Luo stared fixedly at Yin Luo Feng. A vicious light flashed in his eyes. What kind of skill is that if you ambushed me? If you really have the ability, then fight me fairly. Yin Luo Feng swept his eyes over him. The winner is king, and the loser is in the wrong. This is an eternal truth. A loss is a loss. If this was on the battlefield, you would have no chance to retaliate. Yi Luo, the gap between you and Yi Ling is not small. Even if you obtain the throne in the end, your seat will not be stable. The crowd was stunned by the young girl's treasonous words. Her features were wild, and her words were unruly. She did not even put the royal family in her eyes. But why did she have to look down on the royal family? That's right, the noble disciples could feel the contempt in the young girl's eyes. This kind of contempt was as if the throne was placed in front of her, and she would not even bother to look at it. But what they did not understand was that she was only an ordinary girl who had given herself to Yi Ling. What gave her the courage to say such words? Yi Ling, let's go. Yin Luo Feng raised the corners of his lips and turned to face Yi Ling with a faint smile. All right. Yi Ling was a little surprised, but did not say anything else. He nodded and turned his gaze towards the guards surrounding them. He shouted coldly, "Get out of my way!" The guards were stunned by Yi Ling's roar and subconsciously made way for her. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the two of them walked out of the courtyard without looking back. It was as if they had only come to say hello. Yi Luo only returned to his senses when the two of them had completely disappeared. He clenched his fists tightly and spat viciously. Yi Ling, I will never let you go. Outside the mansion, Yi Ling couldn't take it anymore and asked, Mistress, why did you come to the second prince's residence? Are you just going to leave like this? Yin Luo Feng smiled softly. Since I've finished my business, I should naturally leave. Yi Ling suddenly froze. After a long while, he continued to ask, but I've always been by your side, and I haven't seen you do anything else. Could it be that whenever you want to do something, you beat Yi Luo up? He asked for it. Yin Luo Feng curled the corners of his lips. I've come here to survey the terrain. Just a moment ago, I've finished surveying the second prince's residence. Since that's the case, there's no need for me to stay any longer. Yi Ling's eyes were filled with astonishment. Master, when did you survey the terrain? How come I didn't know? I remember that you didn't go anywhere. Yin Luo Feng glanced at Yi Ling and said devilishly, Yi Ling, you must remember there are some things that you don't need your eyes to see. You need to use your mental energy. Just now, I have already spread my mental energy throughout the entire mansion. Therefore, every corner of the mansion and every room are imprinted in my mind. Do you understand? Chapter 170. Yi Ling trembled all over. To be able to cover the entire residence with his mental strength, how powerful did he have to be to do this? Master, I understand. He slowly took a deep breath, his eyes glinting. Let's go. I still have to go to the second prince's palace tonight. Now, I'll go back to my palace and rest. I'll save my energy for tonight's event. Yin Luo Feng stretched his back lazily. His pitch-black eyes were filled with determination. No matter who killed her parents, they had to pay the price for it. Night fell. In the darkness of the night, an enraged roar rang out in the quiet residence, mixed with monstrous rage. Yi Ling, and that stinky girl, I'll make you wish you were dead. At that moment, whenever Yi Luo thought of the humiliation he had suffered over the past 100 days, his heart felt as if it were being gnawed at by 10,000 ants, and the pain was unbearable. Blue veins popped out on his tightly clenched fists, and his bulging eyes were bloodshot with rage. Imperial son, you'd better not be impatient. In a room filled with the scent of sandalwood, a graceful and beautiful woman sat on a chair. She held a cup of tea and sipped it lightly, a light flashing through her beautiful eyes. General Yi is Yi Ling's uncle. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to deal with Yi Ling. As for the little girl you're talking about, to be able to injure you, Her strength is definitely not simple. This kind of woman must not be seen by your imperial father. Otherwise, with your imperial father's lustful nature, he will definitely fall for that little girl. Mother, I can't accept this. Yiluo clenched his fists and said indignantly, that woman made me lose face in public. How can I let her off? If I don't complain to my imperial father, I really won't be able to quell my anger. Son, don't you know your imperial father's personality? Whether it's the late Empress Yi or me, we won your imperial father's favor because of our looks, and your imperial father likes the new and hates the old. Since that girl is so stunning, all the more we can't let your imperial father see her. If your imperial father takes a fancy to her, how many women in the world do you think would refuse to become the emperor's concubine? In Empress Rong's mind, the emperor was the supreme being, and there was no woman he couldn't have if he wanted her. Moreover, there was no woman who could refuse to become an emperor's concubine. Mother, then how should I take revenge? Am I really going to let this woman bully me like this? Yiluo was very unwilling. Right now, he wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Ling into 1,000 pieces and then take that girl in white into his mansion and torture her to death. Imperial son, you must know that there are many cheap women in this world. When they see a man with power and influence, they want to cling to him, wishing that they could kneel down and lick his boots. Therefore, I have an idea. Recently, the imperial family has been trying to curry favor with the people of Luofeng Pavilion. Why don't we give her to the steward of Luofeng Pavilion as a concubine and use this opportunity to build a relationship with Luofeng Pavilion? When your father sees that we're trying to curry favor with the people of Luofeng Pavilion, he will definitely praise you even more. The position of crown prince will then belong to you. Empress Rong lowered her eyes, and a cold glint flashed across them. The smile on her lips became sinister and terrifying as she spoke slowly. Isn't that letting her off too lightly? Yi Luo frowned. His imperial mother's actions were not to punish that woman for him, but to give her a chance to become a phoenix from Sparrow. Therefore, how could he accept this? Imperial son, the person I want to build a relationship with is the steward of Luofeng Pavilion, Wu Zhong. This Wu Zhong is over 50 years old and extremely perverted. Anyone who becomes his woman will be tortured to death by him. Moreover, Wu Zhong is lustful. He will definitely be interested in this woman. Chapter 171. Yi Luo was silent for a moment, then asked, what if that woman doesn't agree to seduce the steward of the Windfall Pavilion? Hearing this, Empress Rong sneered, her lips curling into a mocking smile. My son, there is no woman in this world who doesn't want to curry favor with power. Now that the Windfall Pavilion's power is at its peak, even the imperial family has to be courteous to them. Come to think of it, she should thank us for giving her this opportunity. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had the chance to meet the steward of the Windfall Pavilion. Under the deep night sky, the young girl stood against the moonlight. Her clothes were as white as snow and stood out in the dark. However, the silence of the night was somewhat frightening. Only the cicadas in the trees could be heard. Yun Luofeng gazed deeply at the candlelit window, listening to the mother and son's discussion in the room. Her lips curled into a demonic smile, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. Tonight, she had originally wanted to come to the second prince's residence to investigate the truth behind her parents' deaths. She didn't expect to hear the mother and son's plot. Moreover, the target of their plot was her. Yi Ling, who is this Wu Zhong? She asked with her back to the handsome youth behind her. Yi Ling was startled, then replied, Wu Zhong is considered an old member of the Windfall Pavilion. He has been with us since the Windfall Pavilion was founded. His strength is at the advanced high spiritualist level, comparable to mine. Yi Ling, pretend that you didn't hear anything today. Perhaps this is a very good test. I want to know if Wu Zhong is loyal to the Windfall Pavilion. Yes, master, Yi Ling replied respectfully. In reality, even now, he was still shocked by Yun Luofeng's actions. Just when they had been spying on the second prince's residence, she had fed the patrolling guard something that had caused the guards to stare blankly, as if they hadn't noticed them at all. It seems that we won't be able to find any more useful information tonight. Yin Luofeng raised an eyebrow and slowly turned around. Her voice was demonic and languid. Yiling, let's go back first. This subordinate understands. Yiling lowered her head and replied respectfully. The two of them had been standing outside the window for an hour, but no one had noticed their presence. Some patrolling guards walked past them without making a sound. If one looked closely, one could see that these guards' eyes were dull, like wooden puppets wandering in the night. Only when Yin Luofeng and Yi Ling left did the eyes of the guards recover their luster bit by bit. However, they seemed to not know that two uninvited guests had just arrived and continued patrolling as usual. Under the desolate curtain of the night, the streets were devoid of the hustle and bustle of the day. Instead, it was deep and serene. Suddenly, Milk Tea, who was originally in Yin Luofeng's sleeve, seemed to sense something and began to squeak. Its squeak was filled with anxiety and unease, as if warning Yin Luofeng that there was danger here. Miss Yin. Suddenly, a few figures descended from the sky and landed in front of Yin Luofeng. They went straight to the point and said, "Our general invites you to make a trip." General? Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows as he looked at the people blocking their way and asked with an evil smile, "General E?" "That's right," the soldier replied coldly. "Our general is indeed General E." General E of Flowing Gold Nation had once been defeated at the hands of his old man, and as a result, his nephew had been reduced to a hostage. Now that General E had suddenly invited her, perhaps her identity had been exposed? Chapter 172. All right. Yin Luofeng stroked his chin, his eyes deep in thought. "I'll have to trouble you to lead the way. I'll go with you." Yiling looked at the soldiers under the night sky and stood resolutely by Yin Luofeng's side. "Please." The soldier was still polite and made an affectionate gesture towards Yin Luofeng as he spoke in a grave and stern voice. General's residence. In the study, a middle-aged man stood with his hands clasped behind his back under the cold moonlight. His black hair was tied behind his back, as black as ink. His back was facing the door of the study, his figure straight and stern like a majestic mountain. "Lord General." Suddenly, a voice pulled him back from his thoughts. "The person you've invited is here, but the third prince has also come with her." When Buffon heard the soldier's report, he finally turned around slowly and said with a stern expression, "Let them in." "Yes, Lord General." The soldier accepted the order and retreated. Not long after, a figure in snow-white robes appeared in his line of sight in the dark night sky. When he saw the girl striding in, Buffon's stern eyes became absent-minded, and he could not even shift his gaze away from the girl. Alike to alike, this girl and her mother, Bai Ling, looked as if they had been carved from the same millstone. Both of them were exceedingly beautiful and peerless. "Uncle." Yiling saw that her uncle was staring unblinkingly at Yin Luofeng, and a trace of anxiety appeared on her face. She glanced at Yin Luofeng and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that he was not angry. Buffon gradually came back to his senses. He looked at Yin Luofeng with a strange look in his eyes. It was as if he was looking at someone through her. "I don't know if I should call you Miss Yin or Yin Luofeng." Buffon's expression was stern, as if the absent-minded look earlier was just an illusion. "It's just a title. General, you can call me anything you like." Yin Luofeng leaned against the door railing, her dark eyes gazing deeply at Buffon. "But General E and I don't know each other. May I know why you've summoned me?" Buffon pondered for a moment before he asked coldly, "I just want to know why you, the granddaughter of the Long Yuan Nation's general, would come to the Flowing Gold Nation. If you say you have no ulterior motives, I will not believe you." Hearing this, Yin Luofeng's eyes narrowed, and a dangerous light flashed through them. Sure enough, this fellow knew her identity, and now, even if she wanted to deny it, it would only be superfluous. Furthermore, she had no intention of hiding her identity when she came here. She wanted everyone in the world to know that her goal was to avenge her parents. Looks like General E is really well informed. "I, Yin Luofeng, am just a good-for-nothing in Long Yuan Nation, but you can actually see through my identity." Yin Luofeng crossed his arms over his chest, a sinister smile on his face. "That's right. I am Yun Luo's granddaughter, and also the daughter of Yun Yang and Bai Ling. It was like a sledgehammer that fiercely smashed onto Yi Bufon's heart, and it caused him to stagger slightly. She really was Bai Ling's daughter. In fact, ever since Yun Luofeng had entered the Flowing Gold Nation for the first time, she had already caught Yi Bufon's attention. In addition, the people from the Third Prince's residence all called this young girl Miss Yun, so he had been able to determine her identity. Yi Bufon took a deep breath as he stared at the peerlessly beautiful face in front of him. He calmed the ripples in his heart and stared fixedly at her with his deep, black eyes. Chapter 173. Miss Yin, your parents and I have known each other for a long time. However, we have different masters and we can only meet on the battlefield. So, on account of my friendship with your parents, I advise you to leave the Flowing Gold country. I can forgive you for entering Flowing Gold Nation, but if you don't leave, don't blame me for being impolite. Yi Bufon's tone was unusually firm and his handsome face was solemn. He was the general of Flowing Gold Nation, and protecting the country was his responsibility. Otherwise, he would not have resolutely met the woman he loved on the battlefield more than 10 years ago. Unfortunately, because he was against using schemes against Yun Yang and his wife, he was summoned back by His Majesty before the war was over. He was completely unaware of what happened next. When he finally found out, he heard that Yun Yang and his wife had both died on the battlefield, and their souls had returned to their homeland. This grievous news was a huge blow to him, and he used it as an excuse to avoid waking up. Even now, his heart still ached. Leave Flowing Gold Nation? Yun Luofeng smiled devilishly. Do you think that since I've come here, I'll leave so easily? Yi Bufon's handsome face darkened. Miss Yun, as long as I'm guarding Flowing Gold Nation, I won't let you do anything to harm Flowing Gold Nation. Even if you're Bai Ling's daughter, I won't let you do as you please. Yun Luofeng glanced at him maliciously. I'm here to avenge my parents. No one can stop me. Yun Luofeng. Yi Bufon was slightly annoyed. When two countries fight, there are bound to be casualties. My Flowing Gold Nation has also lost many people on the battlefield. Do you want to avenge them all? When will there be an end to revenge? Furthermore, there are casualties in battle. These things are unavoidable. That's right. When two countries fight, there are bound to be casualties. Unfortunately, I don't care about the lives of the people in this world. I only care about my family. I don't care how they died. I only know that those who hurt my family are my enemies. Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. Her arrogant eyes were filled with dominance. When will there be an end to revenge? What a joke. She never knew how to repay evil with kindness. She only knew that blood must be paid with blood. Yi Bufon's brows furrowed tightly as anger appeared on his face. As if sensing their general's anger, the surrounding soldiers all drew their weapons, causing the atmosphere to suddenly become tense. Yun Luofeng, do you really insist on doing this? Yi Bufon raised a hand to stop the soldiers and asked coldly. Yun Luofeng didn't answer him, but instead asked a question with a faint smile. General Yi, do you like my mother? The girl's voice was devilishly and languid, as if she was asking something unimportant. But her words caused Yi Bufon's heart to clench fiercely. At this moment, the image of that peerlessly beautiful face that had a faint smile on her face had appeared once more in his mind. Do you know why my mother didn't choose you? Yun Luofeng smiled devilishly. Because the person she loved was a man with unyielding character. Yin be like Yun. Luo, loyal man like other people. If my father was still alive, he would wash the imperial city in blood if anyone dared to touch my mother. He would rather give up his position as a junior general than allow anyone to touch her. Yi Bufon was deeply affected by the girl's words. He staggered and fell on the chair in a sorry state. At that very moment, this mighty general of Flowing Gold Nation had accidentally exposed all his thoughts for all to see. Chapter 174. Yiling, let's go. Yun Luofeng took one last look at the disheveled Yi Bufon before he turned and slowly walked towards the boundless night. Yiling, who had wanted to leave with Yun Luofeng, did not seem to be able to bear to see Yi Bufon in such a disheveled state. His footsteps paused slightly as he turned his back to the middle-aged man behind him and said, "Uncle, seeing that you're my mother's elder brother, I'll tell you this as well. The flowing Gold Nation's royal family has reached its end. Don't help the Emperor kill anymore." After he had finished speaking, he did not spare another glance at the man behind him, as he quickly chased after Yin Luofeng. Buzz. Ibuffon laid on a chair as a bitter smile hung on the corners of his lips. Bai Ling, you didn't choose me back then because I was too fair and strict. Yin Yang, on the other hand, is a hot-blooded man? Could it be that my loyalty to His Majesty was also a mistake? His handsome face was filled with pain, as if he had sunk into a deep recollection. If I could relive my life, I would really like to be an ordinary person without any burdens. If that were the case, it wouldn't be impossible for me to fly into a rage for a beauty. Unfortunately, I was never meant to be hot-blooded. Ibuffon ordered someone to bring him some white wine and downed it in one gulp. All these years, every time he thought of that peerless beauty, he would need to rely on the numbing effects of alcohol to fall asleep. "Young mistress, you're back." In the second prince's residence, the little girl, Qing Yin, saw Yun Luofeng return at first glance. Her crescent-shaped eyes lit up as she hurriedly went forward to greet her. She said with a smile, "Young mistress, you've been out for the whole night. You must be tired. I've already asked the kitchen staff to prepare a bowl of soup for you. Drink it before you go to sleep." "All right." Yin Luofeng walked into the room, and a fragrant aroma filled the air. She walked towards the bowl of soup and sat in front of the table. She scooped up a spoonful of the fragrant soup and slowly brought it to her mouth. "Why is the meal this time different from the one at noon?" Yin Luofeng raised an eyebrow. "This chef isn't bad. His cooking skills are even better than those in the general's mansion. Tomorrow, I'll mention this to Yi Ling and have her send this chef to me. The old man will definitely like it." Yin Luofeng didn't have any other hobbies, but he loved to eat. As such, all the chefs in the general's residence were hired by him at a high price. Yin Luofeng, who was used to eating the food in the general's residence, was not used to the flowing Gold Nation. He didn't expect that the third prince's residence would have such a skilled chef. Qing Yin looked at Yin Luofeng guiltily. "Miss, this isn't very good. After all, this chef is from Yi Ling's residence. Why not?" Yin Luofeng finished his bowl of soup, then took the handkerchief that Qing Yin handed over and wiped the corner of his mouth. He stretched his body and stood up from his seat. "I will make this request to Yi Ling tomorrow. I'm tired now. Qing Yin, you can leave first." "Yes, miss, this servant will take her leave." Qing Yin hurriedly picked up the empty bowl and guiltily walked out. She was thinking about how to cover up this lie. In the courtyard, under the darkness of the night, a man dressed in a long black robe was hidden in the darkness. It was as if he had become one with the night. Qing Yin saw the grim man in the courtyard with one glance. After thinking for a moment, she walked over to him. "I've already followed your instructions and sent the soup to Mississippi. I didn't let her know that you were the one who made it for her." The man's tone was as grim as ever. It was as if besides Yin Luofeng, he wasn't willing to say another word to anyone else. "Give this to her." Chapter 175. Qing Yin was stunned. Her gaze fell upon the plate of grapes in the man's hand, and she blinked in astonishment. "Even though Miss doesn't like the food in the third prince's residence, these grapes don't seem to be any different. Why did you?" "Not the same." "Not the same? How so?" Qing Yin simply could not understand this man. Why does he have to be so mysterious every time? Besides, he has always been following Miss to protect her. Why doesn't he let Miss know? The man's face was expressionless and his voice was low. "I will continue to deliver tomorrow's food." Of course, those grapes were different. Yin Luofeng was very picky about food. For example, when she eats grapes, she must first remove the seeds. Hence, he had used his spiritual energy to remove the seeds from the grapes on the plate. However, he was not interested in explaining this to Qing Yin. "Also, leave these grapes on her table. Don't disturb her rest." The man thought for a moment before he gave another order. His dark eyes looked at the flickering candlelight at the door. He then turned around resolutely and immediately disappeared into the night. Now, he should go and prepare her breakfast tomorrow. Qing Yin, Where did these grapes come from? Early morning. The morning light spilled into the room. The young girl was sitting at the table, her slender fingers gently tapping the surface of the table as she asked casually. Qing Yin was stunned and replied guiltily, "Yes. I prepared them for you, Mississippi. Is that so? Then how did you remove the seeds from grapes?" Yin Luofeng looked at the little girl's delicate and pretty face with a smile that did not reach her eyes as she continued to ask. "What?" The little girl cried out in shock. "How could this be? Qing Yin was about to defend herself when she suddenly realized that she had let the cat out of the bag. She quickly shut her mouth and guiltily glanced at Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Her heart quickly caught on to something, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. "Qing Yin, since when have you helped others lie to me? Is this how you feel about me?" Qing Yin thought that Yin Luofeng was angry and felt somewhat anxious. She hurriedly explained, "Young lady, this servant did not intentionally deceive young lady. If someone else wanted to bribe this servant to harm young lady, this servant would definitely not betray young lady. This servant is just..." She only felt that Yun Xiao and young Miss's relationship was very good, so it was impossible for him to harm young Miss, so she helped him. Moreover, Yin Xiao had seen that young Miss had no appetite for the past few days, and he didn't want young Miss to know that he was tailing her. Hence, he had sought her out. If it was someone else, she wouldn't have bothered. Puffed, Yin Luofeng laughed out loud. She raised her hand to pinch Qing Yan's cheek and said with a smile, "All right, I won't tease you anymore. Qing Yin, I naturally understand your sincerity towards me. I will pretend to be unaware of this matter. You can continue to contact him." Yin Xiao had probably never thought that a plate of grapes would completely expose his whereabouts. Mississippi. Qing Yin bit her lips and stamped her feet in shame and indignation. The young miss was really getting naughtier and naughtier. She actually teased her, causing her to think that the young miss was really angry. "The Empress has arrived. His Royal Highness the Second Prince has arrived." Just as Yin Luofeng stepped out of her room, a sharp voice suddenly fell into her ears. It caused her expression to sink, and a murderous intent appeared in her black eyes. Chapter 176. This third prince is really outrageous. I personally came to see him, but he didn't even come out to receive me. I really don't know how that dead empress erased her son. In the back garden, Empress Rong frowned slightly, and her elegant face flashed with displeasure as she scoffed. But the third prince's residence was really rich. Look at the rocks. They were actually made from stones from the depths of the North Sea. The herbs in the flower beds were actually the extremely precious scarlet flame grass. Even the bamboo in the bamboo forest could not be bought without tens of millions of gold and silver. It seemed that the Yi family was not as simple as they appear to be. They must have given the third prince an incalculable amount of gold and silver over the years. Otherwise, he would not have the ability to build such a luxurious residence. Greed flashed across Empress Rong's eyes as she stared fixedly at the treasures that could rival a nation's wealth. What she did not know was that the moment her greed was exposed, Yi Ling had already noticed it. A cold laugh sounded as if it came from the horizon, causing Empress Rong to hurriedly retract the greed in her eyes. She turned to look at the youth who had just stepped out of the study, her beautiful eyes filled with murderous intent. "This damn brat, he's so lucky. I've already sent so many assassins, but none of them managed to kill him. Unfortunately, no matter how lucky he was, he would still end up like a short-lived mother. Sooner or later, he would die in the Yellow Springs." "Yi Ling, I've come to see you this time because I have a few matters to discuss with you." Empress Rong stared coldly at Yi Ling, the greed in her eyes exploding once again. "I and His Majesty have owed you far too much over the years. To make up for our guilt, I've decided to have you exchange residences with Luo. Luo's residence is in the bustling city, much better than this remote place of yours." She said it was a discussion, but it was actually a forceful order. How could Yi Ling not sense Empress Rong's true intentions? The cold smile on his lips deepened as he replied indifferently, "Apologies, I prefer a quiet place. I appreciate your Majesty's good intentions." "Yi Ling, Empress Rong's expression darkened. You really don't know what's good for you. I'm doing this to make up for what I owe you. Luo Er's residence is much better than this shabby place of yours. The meaning behind her words was that she did all this for the sake of Yiling, but it just so happened that this stinking brat Yiling didn't appreciate it. Hee hee, Yiling chuckled again and said mockingly, if you want me to exchange my mansion with you, Luo, it's not impossible. Everything in my mansion, even a blade of grass or a tree, I'll take it all. Empress Rong's expression changed completely. Since this is an exchange of manners, then everything in the two manners will be included. I'm afraid it's very unreasonable for you to take these things away. Yiling smiled. His smile contained a bone-chilling coldness. His slightly raised eyes held a touch of arrogance. Empress Rong, what difference is there between your actions and a bandit's? Aren't you just eyeing the treasures in my mansion and planning to rob them openly? Why'd I have to make it sound so nice? How dare you? Empress Rong shouted angrily. Her cold and elegant face flashed with viciousness. You are a prince, and also a subject of the flowing gold kingdom. Do you think that I, the Empress, do not have this little bit of authority? I'm warning you. Everything in the flowing gold kingdom belongs to the imperial court. The same goes for the treasures in your mansion. Since these belong to the imperial family, why can't I make the decision? Chapter 177. Her meaning was very clear. All the treasures under the heavens belong to the empire. As the mother of the empire, she has the right to distribute these treasures. Hence, the treasures should belong to whoever she says they belong to. Yiling stared disdainfully at Empress Rong, who was acting like a bandit. No one else can lay a finger on my things. Not even the members of the imperial family. Impudence. Yi Luo's handsome face filled with rage when he heard Yiling's mocking words. He glared fiercely at the handsome, fair youth before him. Yiling, my imperial mother is the empress of the empire, a motherly model of the nation. Who gave you permission to speak to her in this manner? Since my imperial mother has said that this residence belongs to me, you'd better get out of my territory immediately. My place doesn't welcome a bastard like you. The word bastard made Yiling's breath sink. He narrowed his eyes and approached Yi Luo dangerously. What did you just say? I said that you're a bastard, slap. Yiling's hand was as fast as the wind. Before anyone could react, a slap flew towards Yi Luo's face. A clear and melodious sound rang through the entire residence and shocked Empress Rong. She never thought that Yiling would have the audacity to hit someone in front of her. You dare to hit me? Yi Luo covered his swollen face as his eyes spat fire. I'm going to tell Imperial Father to send you to the border. You little bastard, you little be asterisk starred. I hit you for Imperial Father's sake. Do you think that Imperial Father will send me away for this? Yiling retracted his hand and wiped his face with a handkerchief as he sneered. You're talking nonsense. Yi Luo could not help but swear, and his face turned a bright red. This little b asterisk starred actually said that he had hit me for Imperial Father's sake. Such behavior was utterly shameless. Don't forget we share the same father. You call me a little bastard, a little b asterisk starred. Isn't that the same as saying that I'm the son of a b asterisk starred? You're humiliating Imperial Father in front of me. Do you think that you deserve to be hit? Yiling casually threw the handkerchief in his hand onto the ground and stared condescendingly at Yi Luo. Yi Luo became even more enraged. Just as he was about to defend himself, the stunned Empress Rong came back to her senses and slapped Yi Luo across the face. Luo, why did you have to call him a little bastard? If His Majesty hears about this, no one will be able to protect you. Empress Rong said anxiously. Yi Luo felt very wronged, but he knew that he had spoken without thinking. Hence, he shut his mouth and did not dare to say another word. Suddenly, a soft chuckle was heard. Even though the chuckle was extremely soft, it was still clearly heard by everyone. Everyone followed the voice, and in an instant, a snow-white dress appeared in their line of sight. She was slowly walking over, and behind her was a green-clothed maidservant. She was beautiful and charming. It's you. Yi Luo saw Yun Luofeng at first glance, and a look of amazement flashed across his eyes. However, when he thought of what this young girl had done to him, his gaze suddenly darkened. She would never forget how this damned slut had humiliated her in front of everyone. Imperial Mother, she's the woman I've been talking about. Yi Luo took a deep breath and clenched his fists tightly as he spoke, enunciating each word clearly. Empress Rome was shocked. She turned to look at Yin Luofeng, and a hint of jealousy flashed across her beautiful eyes. Chapter 178. No wonder my son could not forget this woman. She was so beautiful. If His Imperial Majesty were to see her, I'm afraid that there would be no place for me in the Imperial Palace. Miss, how should I address you? She remembered the purpose of her visit and no longer cared about fighting Yi Ling for the residence. Her beautiful eyes stared deeply at Yin Luofeng as a sense of contemplation appeared in her eyes. Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng glanced at her from the corner of his eye and spoke unhurriedly. Yin Luofeng. Empress Rong murmured softly as a light flashed in her eyes. She went straight to the point. My main purpose in coming here this time is to see you. Now, I only have one question for you. Do you wish to rise above all others? Yin Luofeng raised an eyebrow, crossed her arms, and asked with a smile that did not reach her eyes, What do you mean? I have an opportunity here that can help you rise above others. Empress Rong laughed icily. It all depends on whether you can grasp it. If you do, I can let bygones be bygones for hurting Luo. Oh. Yin Luofeng laughed softly and raised her eyebrows in a demonic manner. I wonder what kind of opportunity this is. Tell me about it. Empress Rong saw the young girl's expression and thought that there was a chance. Her heart leaped with joy and a trace of disdain flashed across her eyes. She had thought that such a beautiful woman would have great strength of character. Now, it seems that she was nothing more than that. She was no different from the women in the brothels. As long as you're willing to listen to me, I can give you to Steward Wu Zhong of Luofeng Pavilion. As long as you can form a relationship with him, your future will be peaceful. Empress Rong raised her chin arrogantly. Her cold and elegant features were filled with disdain as she stared straight at Yin Luofeng. It was as if she was certain that she would seize this opportunity. The little servant girl, Qin Yin, who was standing behind Yin Luofeng, was completely dumbfounded by his words. Did I hear wrongly? Is there something wrong with the Empress brain? She's actually giving the master of Luofeng Pavilion to a mere steward? She even said that this is an opportunity for her miss to rise above others. You mean the steward of Luofeng Pavilion? Yin Luofeng chuckled. I thought it would be someone important. So it's just a servant. Wasn't that right? In the eyes of the true pavilion master behind the scenes, wasn't Steward Wu Zhong just a servant? Unfortunately, Empress Rong would never have guessed that this peerless beauty was the boss of the Windfall Pavilion. If she knew all of this, she would definitely find a hole to hide in and never come out again. Servant? Empress Rong paused for a moment, then laughed abruptly. Miss Yin, could it be that you don't know the great name of Windfall Pavilion? In just half a year, the Windfall Pavilion's name has shaken the entire Flowing Gold Nation, and Manager Wu Zhong is a high spiritualist. Even the imperial family's experts have to be courteous when they see him. So he's not a servant. You'd better be polite when you see him. In Empress Rong's eyes, Yin Luofeng must have been ignorant and inexperienced. He didn't know the great name of the Zephyr Pavilion, which was why he dared to boast so shamelessly. Now that she had revealed Wu Zhong's strength, she was sure that this young girl would be overjoyed and throw herself into her arms. At that time, she could use Yin Luofeng as a bridge to establish a relationship with Steward Wu Zhong. Chapter 179. What a pity! Under Empress Rong's determined gaze, Yin Luofeng shook his head. A servant will always be a servant. No matter how powerful he is, he can't escape being a servant. Empress Rong's complacent face froze. After a long while, she finally calmed the anger in her heart and sneered, Little girl, I'm only giving you this opportunity out of kindness, but you don't know how to grasp it. That's right. I admit that you're quite pretty, but do you think that you can rely on your looks to hook up with an important person? Which one of the women married by an important person isn't very powerful? That's why it's your good fortune that Steward Wu Zhong has taken a liking to you. Don't even think about seducing someone like the master of the Windfall Pavilion." After she finished speaking in one breath, her cold and elegant face lifted into a cold smile. The master of the Windfall Pavilion is not someone you're worthy of. Even though no one knew the gender of this mysterious master of the Windfall Pavilion, everyone subconsciously thought that a person who could establish such an organization must be a domineering man. Some of the unmarried women even saw the master of the Windfall Pavilion as their dream lover. However, they didn't know that the master of the Windfall Pavilion was a woman. "My lady, is this person stupid?" Qing Yin couldn't help but blurt out. "If my lady is the master of the Windfall Pavilion, how can my lady seduce me?" "Impudent." Empress Rong's face darkened, and she said coldly, "A little servant girl dares to interrupt. Guards, drag her away and beat her to death." "Yes, your majesty." Hearing this, the guards behind Empress Rong joined their fists and stared sharply at Qing Yin. Just as the guards were about to walk towards Qing Yin, a cold voice rang out. "I'd like to see who dares to touch Qing Yin." The handsome youth stepped forward and shielded Qing Yin behind him. He raised his chin arrogantly and stared expressionlessly at the guards, who were as cold as mountains. Qing Yin was his master's woman. How could he let this girl come harm in his residence? Furthermore, this little girl was the woman he liked. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as she looked at Yiling's figure. However, when her gaze turned towards Empress Rong and her son, a murderous intent gradually flashed across her pitch-black eyes. "Yiling, you're disobeying my orders for a little girl?" Empress Rong's chest trembled with rage. She had clearly heard this delicate and pretty little girl address Yun Luofeng as Mississippi. From this, it could be seen that she was only a servant girl who served others. Now, Yiling had actually disobeyed her for a little servant girl? "Umph." Yiling scoffed coldly and replied expressionlessly, "Qing Yin is not a servant girl. She is my imperial consort." It was like thunder. Aside from Yun Luofeng, everyone else was dumbfounded. The third Prince Yiling, who had such high standards, had actually taken a fancy to a little servant girl? What was so special about this little maidservant that she caught his eye? Qing Yin was stunned as well. Her clear eyes stared fixedly at Yiling, who was standing in front of her, and a faint blush appeared on her delicate and pretty face. Did he just say that she was his imperial consort? Suddenly, Qing Yan's eyes darkened as if she had remembered something. There was a bitter taste in her mouth. She was only a little servant girl. How could the emperor of Flowing Gold Country allow Yiling to marry her? That was an unrealistic question. Empress Rong finally returned to her senses. Her expression changed unpredictably. "You're saying that you want a servant girl to be your imperial consort? Is this fellow destroying his own future? If he really does this, the civil and military officials of Flowing Gold Country will never be able to protect him. After all, a little servant girl is not suitable for the position of Empress of the nation." Chapter 180. I made up my mind. I want to marry Qing Yin. No one can stop me. Yiling raised his handsome face arrogantly and stared coldly at Empress Rong. His voice was bone-chilling, like a fierce winter wind. Empress Rong's beautiful eyes darted around. "Since you insist on marrying a little servant girl, I won't force you. I will report this to His Majesty and let him handle it. Yiling, since you want to give up on the throne, then Luo will accept it on your behalf. His Majesty will never allow a servant girl to become the mother of the nation. Luo, let's go." Empress Rong no longer hesitated and turned to walk out of the courtyard. Yi Luo was taken aback and hurriedly chased after her. He asked anxiously, "Imperial Mother, are we just going to let this go?" "Don't worry. There are some things she can't decide herself." Empress Rong laughed coldly. "Luo, go make the arrangements. Imperial Mother is going to Zephyr Pavilion to see Steward Wu Zhong." But Imperial Mother, the third prince's residence. Yi Luo's eyes were filled with greed and reluctance. There were too many treasures in the third prince's residence. Wouldn't it be great if all of them belonged to him? How could Empress Rong not sense Yi Luo's intentions? Her red lips curled into a confident smile as she spoke slowly. Luo, when you become the emperor, what can you not have? When that time comes, all you need to do is say the word, and Yi Ling will obediently offer all of his treasures to you. This is the benefit of power. The benefits of power were great. Empress Rong knew this very well. She liked the feeling of being in control of someone else's fate. I understand, Imperial Mother. Yi Luo's eyes brightened. He licked his dry lips, and his treacherous eyes swept over the place, carving every blade of grass and tree of the third prince's residence into his mind. Every time he thought about how all of these precious treasures would belong to him in the future, he had the urge to throw his head back and laugh maniacally. Yi Ling, you've chosen a servant girl as your concubine. This means that you've already given up on the throne. Don't regret it. The day of my registration will be the day of your death. In the courtyard, Yi Ling stared at the retreating figures of the people from the palace, and a trace of coldness appeared in her eyes. Just as he was pondering, the young girl's lazy voice slowly sounded out by his ear. Yi Ling, remember what you said earlier. I'll leave Qing Yan in your care. Yi Ling was startled. He turned his head and met Yun Luofeng's pitch-black eyes. He gently pursed his thin lips and nodded firmly. Master, don't worry. I will protect her. With me around, no one can hurt her. No one can stop me from marrying her heart. As his thoughts had long been seen through by Yun Luofeng, Yi Ling no longer concealed the love in her heart. Her gentle gaze gradually turned towards Qing Yan. Qing Yan, will you marry me? Qing Yan's face instantly blushed, and she clutched the corner of her robes shyly. I don't want to get married in the next few years. I still want to spend more time with you, miss. Qing Yan, marrying Yi Ling doesn't mean that you can't work for me. Yun Luofeng chuckled. However, if you're not in such a hurry to get married, you can get engaged first. There's no harm in waiting a few years before you get married. Miss, Qing Yan's head was almost buried in the dust. Even her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. The back of her ears were bright red, and she was extremely shy. Chapter 181. Master's idea is a good one. Yi Ling looked gently at Qing Yan and said with a smile, Qing Yan, you are the woman I want to find. I admire your strength, perseverance, loyalty, and protectiveness. Besides, as long as I want to marry you, no one can stop me. He admired her character, but he had only developed feelings for this little girl after spending more than half a year with her. He was not a man who cared about family status. As long as he loved her, he would marry her even if she was a beggar. If he did not love her, it would be useless even if the emperor's daughter came. I'll listen to you, Mississippi. What she meant was that she agreed with their idea. But because she was too shy, she did not directly acknowledge Yi Ling. Yi Ling's heart leaped with joy, and she knelt on one knee in front of Yun Luofeng. Master, I sincerely thank you. It's because of you that I was able to meet Qing Yan. From now on, I'll protect her with my life. Please don't worry, Master. Yun Luofeng gently raised his hand. In an instant, a powerful force grabbed Yi Ling's body and pulled her up. Yi Ling looked at Yun Luofeng in surprise. In reality, Yi Ling was similar to the others. She thought that Yun Luofeng's medical skills were very strong, but his strength was not that great. In addition, Yun Luofeng had never revealed his strength in the past half a year. Hence, she had no idea of Yun Luofeng's strength. But now, under the young girl's power, he could not even exert a little bit of his strength. It was clear to see how strong this young girl was. Above a high spiritualist, an earth spiritualist, whether it was Long Yuan country or Flowing Gold country, the most powerful people were only high spiritualists. If Yun Luofeng really became an earth spiritualist, no one in several countries would be a match for her. Yi Ling, I want you to stand by Qing Yan's side no matter what happens. Even if you have to become enemies with your loved ones. Are you willing? I'm willing. Yi Ling said these 3 words resolutely. All right, find a suitable time, and I'll arrange a marriage for you. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a demonic smile. This little girl, Qing Yan, has been by her side for a long time. She would definitely choose a good husband for her. It was obvious that the current Yi Ling fulfilled her requirements. Also, you need to be prepared. Empress Rome will not let you off so easily. More importantly, she will definitely go to Wu Zhong. I want to see how Wu Zhong will react. If it wasn't to test Wu Zhong, she wouldn't have let Empress Rong leave unscathed just because she heard Empress Rong say she would be beaten to death. Murderous intent flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes as she coldly laughed. Revenge is a dish best served cold. If Empress Rong really had something to do with the death of her parents, then she would definitely settle the scores with her. Windfall Pavilion. Empress Rong sat in the main hall with a cup of tea in her hand. She sipped it gracefully. Steward Wu Zhong, I came to visit because I have a gift for you. What gift? Wu Zhongto only cared about the tea in his hand. From beginning to end, he did not even look at Empress Rong. His voice was cold and disdainful. The Windfall Pavilion had a very high status in the flowing gold country. As the steward of the Windfall Pavilion, Wu Zhong naturally had the right to look down on the Empress. Empress Rong's expression did not look too good, but she suppressed the displeasure in her heart in the end. She smiled gracefully. It's like this. Some time ago, I accidentally met a beautiful girl. I also found out that this beautiful girl admires Steward Wu Zhong. She especially asked me to come and plead on her behalf. She is willing to become Steward Wu Zhong's concubine. All I need is for Steward Wu Zhong to send someone from the Windfall Pavilion to fetch her. Chapter 182. Everyone knew that Steward Wu Zhong had no hobbies other than beautiful women. This was the only way to please him. Sure enough, after hearing Empress Rong's words, Wu Zhong's eyes shone with a strange light, and his brows were filled with great interest. Oh! He raised an eyebrow and looked excited. What does the girl look like? Do you have a portrait? Empress Rong smiled confidently. She raised her hand and clapped twice. Servants, bring out the portrait. Yes, Your Majesty. Hearing this, the two palace maids behind Empress Rong held a portrait in their hands and walked lightly towards Wu Zhong. Steward Wu Zhong, this is the portrait of the girl. If you like it, I will be the matchmaker and have her marry as a princess of the imperial family. Empress Rong smiled gracefully. She had her reasons for doing this. Since she wanted to build a good relationship with Wu Zhong, the imperial family had to step in and accept Yun Luofeng as their adopted daughter. Only then would it be beneficial to the imperial family. Wu Zhong slowly unrolled the portrait in his hand. When he saw the arrogant and haughty girl in white, his heart stopped beating and his eyes filled with awe. This painting was beautifully drawn, and even the arrogance between her brows could be seen on the scroll. Her snow-white dress fluttered in the wind, and her chin was slightly raised as she stared at the deep blue sky. The corners of her lips curled into a mocking smile, as if she didn't even put the heavens in her eyes. Not bad at all. I've lived for so many years, but I've never seen such a beautiful girl. Wu Zhong closed the portrait and praised sincerely. Empress Rong, are you sure this girl is willing to marry me? Empress Rong smiled confidently. As soon as this girl heard of Steward Wu Zhong's name, she said that she wouldn't marry anyone but you. You can rest assured, Steward Wu Zhong. All you need to do is make some preparations and pick a day to marry her. Luofeng Pavilion was a powerful force. If the Luofeng Pavilion were to personally escort the girl would not be able to defy them. Empress, may I ask for this girl's name? Wu Zhong asked after a moment of silence. I don't know her name. I only know that her surname is Yun. Cloud? Wu Zhong was stunned. If he remembered correctly, the deputy pavilion master seemed to have mentioned that the real master behind the scenes of the Windfall Pavilion was also surnamed Yun. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? As if amused by his own thoughts, Wu Zhong laughed and shook his head helplessly, denying the suspicion in his heart. Even though he had never seen his master's true appearance, he knew that a 14-year-old young girl did not have the ability to assume the position of the pavilion master of the Drifting Wind Pavilion. Therefore, it was impossible for this girl to be his master behind the scenes. Unfortunately, things did not go as he wished. Wu Zhong had never imagined that the master behind the Windfall Pavilion was really just a 14-year-old girl. By the time he found out, it was already too late for regrets. After Empress Rong took her leave, she didn't even have time to walk out of the Zephyr Pavilion when a petite figure suddenly entered her line of sight, causing her expression to instantly darken. Stop! Empress Rong snorted coldly. She turned her gloomy gaze towards the little servant girl who had been blocked by her and asked coldly, "Why are you here?" Qing Yin did not expect to see Empress Rong here. Her expression froze for a moment, and a trace of surprise flashed across her clear eyes. Chapter 183. How dare you? Our Empress is asking you a question, and you refuse to answer. The palace maid's expression changed when she saw the stunned Qing Yin. She stepped forward and scolded her loudly. Qing Yin returned to her senses, and a disdainful smile appeared on her pretty and adorable face. Even the members of the imperial family can come here. Why can't I? Impudence. The palace maid raised her chin and glanced at Qing Yin disdainfully. You're just a little servant girl, and you dare to compare yourself to Her Majesty, the Empress? Our Majesty is the mother of the world, and there's no place in this world that she can't go. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to compare yourself to Her Majesty? Furthermore, did your master not teach you that you need to kneel when you see the Empress? What does it mean to be a dog that relies on its master's power? This was vividly displayed by the palace maids. As fellow maidservants, they had always felt that they were a cut above others. Their words clearly showed that they had no regard for Qing Yin. I may be a maidservant, but I only serve one person. In this world, the only person who can make me kneel is my lady. Who do you think you are? I, Qing Yin, am a girl with a backbone. I will never yield to power. Qing Yan's flushed face was filled with determination. She raised her chin fearlessly, and her clear eyes were like a clear spring, reflecting the ferocious look on her face. You. Empress Rong never thought that this little servant girl would dare to speak to her in such a manner. Her face turned red with anger, and she pointed a finger angrily at Qing Yan's nose. Since you wish to become the third prince's consort, you can't be so unruly. Guards, bring this girl into the palace. I want to teach her how to respect her elders and how to be a daughter-in-law of the imperial family. Empress Rong gritted her teeth as she spoke. Her ferocious expression made it seem as if she could not wait to tear Qing Yin apart and devour her. Now, even a little servant girl dares to look down on her. If she does not set the rules, who in the flowing gold kingdom would dare to obey her orders from now on? Yes, your majesty. The palace maids rubbed their fists and walked towards Qing Yin. Their faces were extremely ferocious, and their eyes shone with a sinister light. You want to teach me the rules? You don't have the right. Qing Yin sneered. As the saying goes, like master, like maid. In this half a year, Qing Yin didn't learn anything else, but she learned a bit of Yun Luofeng's arrogance. It was because she understood that she was the young Miss Servant Girl. No matter what, she could not embarrass the young miss, and she could not show weakness in front of the enemy. Bang! After the palace maids grabbed onto Qing Yan's arm, a wave of power leaked out from within Qing Yan's body, sending the palace maids flying in an instant and sending them crashing miserably to the ground. Empress Rong's expression froze. She never thought that Qing Yin, as a maidservant, would have a cultivation base. No wonder Yi Ling didn't treat her like an ordinary servant. Unfortunately, a maidservant was a maidservant. No matter what, she couldn't change her fate of serving others. Damn girl, if you want to be the third prince's consort, you have to get my permission first. This consort will enter the palace right now and explain this matter to His Majesty. This consort will make it so that you'll never be able to be with that brat Yi Ling for the rest of your life. Qing Yin looked disdainfully at the ashen-faced Empress Rong and said mockingly, I didn't say I wanted to be the third prince's wife. The person I like is Yi Ling, not the third prince. If Yi Ling is willing to be a prince, she will be his consort. If he is unwilling, she will only be his future wife. Chapter 184. Good, very good. Remember what you said. Empress Rong's eyes were dark. She turned towards the servants of the Windfall Pavilion and gritted her teeth. The security at your Windfall Pavilion is too lax. You've let just anyone in. If Steward Wu Zhong were to punish you, would you be able to bear the consequences? Your Majesty, I'm truly sorry. The servant was stopped by Empress Rong, but he did not get angry. Instead, he wore an appropriate smile on his face and looked apologetic. Empress Rong's face lit up with pride. She was just about to order the servants to throw Qing Yin out when the servant suddenly changed his tone and continued. You're right. You're right. Our windfall pavilion isn't a place where just anyone can enter. Please leave, Your Majesty. Empress Rong's face froze. She widened her beautiful eyes and pointed a fair finger at the servant of the windfall pavilion. She asked in disbelief, What did you just say? Your Majesty, this is Windfall Pavilion's territory. If Your Majesty causes trouble here, I'll have someone escort you out. The servant bowed slightly and replied in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Aren't you afraid that I'll complain to Steward Wu Zhong? Empress Rong gritted her teeth and roared angrily. The servant's eyes flashed with disdain when he heard this. I just don't want anyone to sully Windfall Pavilion's territory. I have no other intentions. If Your Majesty thinks that Steward Wu Zhong will punish me for this, then I'll just have to admit that I'm unlucky. You're all very good. Empress Rong's eyes darkened. Her gaze swept across the servant like a knife and landed on Qing Yin. Just you wait for today's matter. I will not let this matter rest. This was Windfall Pavilion's territory after all. She did not dare to act rashly. Furthermore, the servant was helping this little SL*T so much. Perhaps they had an affair. Once she has gained Wu Zhong's trust, she would settle the score with them. Let's go. Empress Rong's voice sank at the thought, and she ordered icily. Yes, Your Majesty. The palace maids responded respectfully. They could not understand why Empress Rong, the mother of a nation, would want to curry favor with the servants of Windfall Pavilion. He didn't even dare to act rashly in front of a mere servant. Miss Qing Yin. The servant did not even look at the furious Empress Rong. He turned to face Qing Yin and greeted her respectfully. What's your name? Qing Yin raised her eyebrows and looked at the person before her as she asked. I'm Fong Yu. Does Miss Qing Yin have anything else to say? Fong Yu's voice was neither servile nor overbearing, but it was clearly more respectful than when he was in front of Empress Rong. Although he did not know Qing Yan's true identity, he had often seen Qing Yan by the Vice Pavilion Master's side during the past 6 months. Especially the way they interacted. It was as if they were friends. Because of this, many people in the Windfall Pavilion guessed that Qing Yin might be the same as the Vice Pavilion Master. They were both people by the Pavilion Master's side. That was why she was able to obtain the Vice Pavilion Master's respect and trust. You did very well, just now. Qing Yin nodded her chin in satisfaction. There are very few people like you who can handle things like this. I will report to the Pavilion Master later and let you be promoted. Qing Yin was referring to the Pavilion Master, not the Vice Pavilion Master. Fong Yu was a little dumbfounded when he heard this. He raised his eyebrows in astonishment and stared in the direction where Qing Yin had left. His eyes were filled with deep shock. As expected, Miss Qing Yin really is one of the Pavilion Master's people. As soon as he thought about his promotion, Fong Yu became very excited. Chapter 185. Xiao, so you're here. You've certainly made it difficult for me to find you. The woman in red slowly walked towards the man in front of her amidst the dark clouds in the forest. Her eyes were filled with gentleness and yearning. The man's grim figure was clearly reflected in her beautiful eyes. The man's face was covered by an ice-cold mask, and his body exuded a grim aura that no one could approach. This aura forced the woman in red to stop in her tracks. However, a gentle smile still hung on her face. During this period of time, 2 forces have been looking for you. One is the eldest lady of the Spirit Order, and the other is the Xiao family. Even though they haven't mentioned your name, I know that the person they're looking for is you. Yun Xiao gently pursed his light red lips, as if he had not heard the woman in red's words. His grim gaze continued to stare at an empty spot not too far away from him. I'm afraid that no one knows better than you why the eldest lady of the Spirit Order is looking for you. The woman in red covered her lips and smiled tenderly. Her beautiful eyes swirled and rippled with light. Who asked you to be so mesmerizing? Even with a mask on, you can attract countless women. If you were to remove your mask, who knows how many people would go crazy for you? Unfortunately, this man was far too grim. His black eyes never wavered in the slightest. I really don't know if there's anything in this world that could move him. As for the Xiao family, the woman in red noticed that Yun Xiao had ignored her, but she was not angered. She continued to smile and said, I've heard that the Xiao family once had a good-for-nothing young master who was chased out of the Xiao family when he was 7 years old. Since then, there's been no news of him. I wonder what's your relationship with that young master of the Xiao family? Her words carried a sense of probing as her beautiful eyes glanced towards Yun Xiao. What disappointed her was that this man remained unmoved, as if what she had just said was an unimportant matter. If Yun Luofeng was here, he would certainly be able to guess that the young master of the Xiao family who had been chased out of the family was Yun Xiao. There was no other reason than that Yun Xiao's physique was the illusory spirit body. People who possessed this kind of physique would not be able to cultivate before the age of 10 and would only advance by leaps and bounds after the age of 10. Hence, a large family like the Xiao family could not tolerate the existence of trash and would very likely chase him out of the family. Xiao, the woman in red, pursed her red lips as a strange light flashed across her beautiful eyes. The Xiao family doesn't seem to know about your true identity. I understand that you don't want the snobbish Xiao family to know about your current strength. If you're willing to let me stay by your side, I'll help you keep your secret. What do you think? Her eyes were filled with infatuation. I don't want to be your wife. I just want to be by your side and risk my life for you. There was finally a slight change in Yun Xiao's gaze. His grim gaze slowly turned towards the red-robed woman's beautiful face as he spoke expressionlessly. There is another type of person who can keep a secret. That is a dead person. The red-robed woman's expression changed abruptly as she bit her lips tightly. Xiao, my name is Yun Xiao. The man's aura spread out and covered the sky as he charged towards the red-robed woman. His gaze was as cold as a hawk's as he spoke expressionlessly. You have no right to call me Xiao. The red-robed woman laughed bitterly. Under the man's aura, her body felt as if it was being crushed by a great mountain, and she was unable to move. Everyone says that the Ghost Emperor is cold and heartless, especially towards women. He does not have any tender feelings for the fair sex. Now that I've seen it, it seems to be true. Yin Zhao's voice was low and hoarse as he stared coldly at the red-robed woman. I, Yin Xiao, will only have tender feelings for one woman in this life. But that person is not you. Chapter 186. I, Yin Xiao, will only take pity on one woman in this life. But that person is not you. The man's cold and merciless words completely hurt the woman in red, causing her face to turn incomparably pale. Suddenly, she was envious of the woman the Ghost Emperor had mentioned. What kind of peerless beauty could make this man take pity on her? I really want to meet that lady, so that I can understand why I've lost. Her beautiful face lit up with a bitter smile. The bitterness in her heart had long spread, and her eyes were filled with pain. And if my guess is correct, that lady is Long Yuan country's famous good-for-nothing, Yun Luofeng. As soon as Yun Luofeng's name was mentioned, she could clearly feel the man's increasingly cold aura. This aura was like a sharp, long sword, causing her heart to instantly bleed. Thinking of the news she had received during this period of time, the woman in red bit her lip and raised her beautiful eyes to stare straight at Yun Xiao. Someone as honorable as you, why would you willingly become a guard for a woman? Could it be that you've lowered yourself just so that she would approve of you? The man gently pursed his thin lips, and his grim gaze swept icily towards the woman in red. Then, he finally took a step forward and slowly walked towards the woman in red. With every step that the man took, the woman in red found it difficult to breathe. It was as if a hand was fiercely squeezing her heart, making it hard for her to breathe. You don't deserve to know the reason. You don't deserve to know. Hee. The woman in red laughed self-deprecatingly. This man is always so heartless. His every word and action was like a sharp thorn, piercing fiercely into her heart, causing her already battered heart to become even more fragmented. Xiao, you want to kill me? Upon sensing the man's murderous intent, the woman in red's body trembled. Her beautiful eyes stared at the man who was walking towards her, her face turning increasingly pale. You know too many things. The man's words were concise and comprehensive as usual, unwilling to say anything unimportant. What? The woman in red clearly did not understand Yun Zhao's meaning and was slightly taken aback. You know of her existence. The man glanced coldly at the woman in red, and the murderous aura on his body intensified. I won't let any danger stay by her side. In other words, since this woman had been pestering him endlessly and knew of Yun Luofeng's existence, he would not allow such a danger to exist no matter what. No! The woman in red screamed as she stumbled back. Her face was drained of all color as she stared at Yun Zhao with a heartbroken gaze. I was only curious about what kind of woman she was. I had no intention of hurting her. You can't do this to me. Yun Zhao had already walked in front of the red-clothed woman, and there was no longer any path of retreat behind the woman. Her tightly bitten lips were no longer as rosy as they were at the beginning, but had turned pale. I won't use her to test you. I will only nip all dangers in the bud. He didn't dare to take the risk, and he didn't dare to gamble on whether or not this woman wanted to take revenge on Yun Luofeng, because the consequences of losing the gamble was not something he could bear. Bang! The woman's legs went soft, and she fell to the ground. Her hands gripped the ground beneath her tightly, and her sharp nails dug deep into the soil as she grabbed a handful of soil. She knew that Yun Zhao was speaking the truth. Even though she had no intention of killing Yun Luofeng now, she could not be sure if she would be able to maintain a calm heart when she actually sees Yun Luofeng. Chapter 187. It was likely that anyone who faced a love rival would find it difficult to do so. Yun Zhao, I can't have you in this lifetime, but if I were to die in your hands, it would be a form of release for me. The woman in red gently closed her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled into a faint smile. Yun Luofeng, you really make one extremely envious. Even though you're just a good-for-nothing and have a lowly status, you're the only soft spot in this cold and heartless man's heart. In order to prevent you from being hurt, he did not hesitate to nip all dangers in the bud. I don't know what King luck you had in your past life to be able to obtain such an outstanding man. Tui. Suddenly, a wave of energy entered from the top of her head, and even her body was pushed open. She slowly opened her eyes and gazed at the man in front of her with deep affection and longing, carving his figure deeply into her mind. Yun Zhao, if it wasn't for Yun Luofeng, would you have allowed me to stay by your side? She stubbornly wanted to know the answer. Even though she clearly knew the other party's choice, the man did not reply to her. Perhaps to him, saying another word to her was a waste of breath. He naturally had an answer in his heart, and there was no need to say it to an unimportant person. Yun Zhao, I don't regret knowing you. The woman in red smiled bitterly. Even if she was given another chance, she would still fall in love with this man. However, she would not be as impulsive as she was today, because the result of her impulsiveness was not to obtain him, but to lose her life here. Tui. A muffled sound suddenly rang out. Immediately after, the woman in red's body seemed to have been poked with countless holes. Blood flowed continuously from those holes, and at the same time, her body was like a deflated balloon, gradually shriveling up. Master. Qin Yuan appeared behind Yun Zhao and looked coldly at the woman in red who was gradually falling to the ground. There was no trace of sympathy or pity in his eyes. Just as Master had said, if this woman was not killed, she would definitely cause countless troubles. She would also cause trouble for Miss Yun. However, it was obvious that Miss Yun was Master's reverse scale. How could Master allow anyone who could threaten her to exist? He would only nip all dangers in the bud. He would never give it the chance to sprout. How are we going to deal with the Shao family? Qin Yuan frowned. This woman is right. Recently, the Shao family has indeed been searching for Master. It's just that they don't know about Master's current achievements. Otherwise, the Shao family would definitely kneel down and apologize. Yun Zhao gently lowered his eyes. The face under the mask was cold and callous. His hands were clasped behind his back from start to finish, his ramrod-straight figure standing amidst the mountain wind. The corners of his pale red lips seemed to curl into a mocking smile. But this smile disappeared so quickly that Qin Yuan thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. His master, who had always been expressionless, could actually have other expressions? How is Gao Ling? Yin Zhao's black eyes slowly turned towards Qin Yuan, and he asked coldly. Ah! Qin Yuan was stunned. He did not expect Yin Zhao to ask about Gao Ling's condition at this time. After a moment of silence, he replied, living a life worse than death. That's right. Gao Ling's life was worse than death. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have the courage to commit suicide, perhaps he would have already died. Compared to the physical pain he was suffering, the psychological trauma he had suffered over the past few days was the most torturous, especially the humiliation he had received from his benefactors. He wanted nothing more than to hack them into 1,000 pieces. Chapter 188. Continue. Yin Zhao threw this sentence at him and walked out of the forest, leaving a dumbfounded Qin Yuan behind. Continue? What does that mean? Could it be that Gao Ling has offended Master in some way? No, I must inform Chun Yang and make her punish Yun Zhao even more severely. Gao Ling probably did not expect Yun Zhao's casual words to cause him to suffer unimaginable torment. From then on, all the guests he had received had changed from normal people to a bunch of perverts. In the days that followed, he finally understood what cruelty was. His experience in the bamboo building has become an eternal nightmare in his heart. By the Emperor's orders, His Royal Highness, the third prince, is to bring Miss Yun to the palace to see the Emperor. She is to be bestowed upon by the Emperor. The tranquility of the third prince's residence was broken by this sharp voice. Yun Luofeng, who was sitting in the pavilion, slightly raised her eyebrows. A smile flashed in her demonic and charming black eyes. She lazily got up and turned her head to look at the little servant girl, Qin Yin, beside her. She asked, Qin Yin, do you want to come with me to see your in-laws? Qin Yin was shocked and raised her head to look at Yun Luofeng. When she saw Yun Luofeng's mocking smile, she realized that she was teasing her. She stomped her foot angrily and said, My lady, you're teasing me again. The imperial family will never accept me. However, if my lady wishes to enter the palace, I will follow you. Let's go. Yun Luofeng shrugged her shoulders, and a strange light flashed across her dark eyes. She smiled soundlessly. I want to know what choice Wu Zhong has made. Qin Yin nodded seriously. My lady, I met Empress Rong when I went to Zephyr Pavilion today. She must have gone for Steward Wu Zhong. If Wu Zhong is truly disloyal, he is not fit to serve you, my lady. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips and walked out of the courtyard. She raised her head to look at the azure sky, and the demonic smile in her eyes became even more pronounced. Was she not here to meet the Emperor of Flowing Gold Country? This was because only by meeting that man would she be able to clearly understand who had killed her parents back then. Therefore, no matter how big of a move she made, there was only one goal, and that was to enter the palace. All the civil and military officials were gathered in the majestic main hall of the imperial palace. As their leader, General Yi had a worried look on his face as he glanced at Yin Luofeng from time to time. To him, Yin Luofeng's identity must have been discovered by His Majesty. That's why His Majesty summoned her. If that's the case, then her life will be in danger. My beloved subjects, I have summoned you here to make an announcement. On the high seat was a bright yellow dragon robe, but did not set off the man's imposing manner. His face was a little pale, and it was obvious that it was because he had overindulged in lust. His foundation was obviously weak, and this was the result of indulging in lust. Although the Emperor of Long Yuan Country was a fatuous ruler, he was only overly biased towards the Mu family. However, the Emperor of Flowing Gold Country, Director Yi, was a fatuous and tyrannical man. All day long, he only knew how to fool around with the beauties in his harem and paid no attention to court affairs. Director Yi coughed lightly, and a dignified look appeared on his pale face. Yesterday, Empress Rome went to the third prince's residence and met this Miss Yun. She hit it off with her at first sight and is willing to adopt her as her daughter. Hence, I have summoned all my beloved subjects here to make this announcement. Since the steward of Zephyr Pavilion had taken a liking to this woman, he had to win her over to the imperial palace no matter what. Only then could the imperial palace benefit greatly. Chapter 189. The officials were in an uproar. All the officials looked at each other in dismay, their eyes full of surprise. Some of them even sized up Yin Luofen, as if they were wondering what on earth this girl was capable of to make Empress Rome admire her so much. This official objects. Under Director Ye's dissatisfied gaze, Buffon slowly stepped forward and lowered his head. Your Majesty, if Empress Rome wants to adopt her as her daughter, then she will be the princess of flowing gold country. This is too rash. This official disagrees. He had received news that Empress Rome had left the third prince's residence in a huff. So how could they hit it off? Thus, no matter what they were planning, he would never agree to this. Director Yi snorted coldly. Generally, I have already decided on this matter, so you don't have to say anything more. There's no time like the present. Today, I will adopt this daughter and add her name to the family tree. From beginning to end, Director Yi had never asked for Yun Luofeng's opinion. In his opinion, Yun Luofeng's opinion wasn't very important. As the emperor, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for her to accept a daughter as her foster daughter? But Director Yi narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the girl's beautiful and exquisite face. He had the urge to take her into his harem. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to hook up with Luofen Pavilion, he wouldn't have been willing to give away such a peerless beauty. Your Majesty, please reconsider, said Buffon in a serious tone. Shut up. Director Yi flew into a rage and slammed his palm on the table. General Yi, you're too long-winded. Once I've decided on something, I will never change my mind. Buffon shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. His Majesty would never listen to good advice. Just then, a demonic and lazy voice suddenly rang out, making the atmosphere in the main hall even more tense. Every word and action of yours is about to decide my fate. But have you ever asked for my opinion? Director Yi couldn't help frowning as he turned to look at the girl in white in the main hall. Becoming my daughter will only bring you benefits and absolutely no harm. If you don't have the title of Imperial Princess, do you think Luofen Pavilion will marry you? Even though Director Yi was an emperor and had an arrogant temperament, he was well aware of the Windfall Pavilion's strength. This was especially so for Steward Wu Zhong. When he first joined the Windfall Pavilion, his name had already spread throughout the Flowing Gold Nation. Steward Wu Zhong had originally wanted to pay a heavy price to recruit him, but who would have thought that he would choose the Windfall Pavilion in the end? Wu Zhong agreed. Yi Ling's eyes darkened, and a trace of coldness flashed across her eyes. He did not reveal his identity in the Windfall Pavilion and even used the name Yi Ling to become the deputy pavilion master. However, everyone in the Windfall Pavilion could tell that he did not have a good impression of the imperial family. Wu Zhong actually agreed to Empress Rome's request. This action was clearly provoking him. Impudent. Chairman Ye's eyes turned cold as he reprimanded. Unfilial son, who allowed you to interrupt without my permission. As a hostage of the Long Yuan nation, you sneaked back to your country. I have already sent someone to inform the Long Yuan nation. In a few days, you will leave with the people from the Long Yuan nation. He would never allow Yi Ling to return. Who knew if Yi Ling's escape would lead to another war between the two countries? Hearing Chairman Ye's words, Yi Ling's heart gradually turned cold. They were both his sons, but the difference between them was not small at all. She really didn't know what else was there for him to miss in a place like this. Chapter 190. Little did they know that Chairman Ye's words also hurt the hearts of the civil and military officials. Buffon looked at Yi Ling with heartache and shook his head. A bitter smile hung on his face. For the first time, he regretted persevering for such an emperor. Can you see it clearly? Yin Luofen walked to Yi Ling's side, his lips curling into an evil smile. These so-called relatives? Since ancient times, the royal family was heartless. In a family like this, how could there be true father-son love? Yi Ling laughed mockingly. Ever since a few years ago, when he wanted to sue for peace, he sent me to Long Yuan country as a hostage. From then on, I've seen through him. Chairman Ye's face darkened. Unfilial son, as a prince of our country, you should contribute to our country. But not only did you escape back to your country, you even wanted to marry a servant girl. You're simply a disgrace to the royal family. Since that's the case, you should go to Long Yuan country and spend the rest of your life there, dying of old age. Guards, arrest him and throw him in jail until the people from the Long Yuan nation arrive. As you command. The guards cupped their fists and walked coldly toward Yiling, quickly surrounding the few people in the hall. Yun Luofeng crossed her arms in front of her chest, exuding a demonic aura. Her black eyes were incomparably dark and contained an evil smile. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to put Yiling in jail. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of music could be heard from outside the hall. Then, several maidservants carrying a bridal sedan slowly descended from the sky. At the very front of the sedan was a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was already over 50 years old, but because he had taken good care of his body, his face was glowing with health. He stroked his black beard and walked into the main hall with satisfaction. Empress Rong once said that her newly adopted daughter adores me. Now, I can't wait to marry her. I wonder if my wife is here? Wu Zhong laughed heartily as he walked in. As soon as he stepped into the main hall, he noticed a stunning young girl dressed in a snow-white dress. His narrowed eyes showed an undisguised sense of amazement. Right after Wu Zhong finished admiring the young woman's peerlessly beautiful face, he accidentally caught a glimpse of Yiling, who stood by the young woman's side, and his face instantly stiffened while his gaze was filled with surprise. Deputy Pavilion Master? Why is he here? Moreover, he was surrounded by the Imperial Guards. Wu Zhong, who did not know what was going on, stopped in his tracks. No one knew what he was thinking. However, Chairman Yi did not notice the strange expression on his face. He smiled and said, "She is my newly adopted daughter. This time, she will represent the flowing gold nation in marriage with your Windfall Pavilion. Are you satisfied with her, Steward Wu Zhong?" He seemed to have forgotten about Yin Luofeng's rejection and directly arranged her fate. At this moment, Yi Bufan finally understood why Empress Rong wanted to adopt her as her daughter. It turned out that Empress Rong wanted to use her to curry favor with the Windfall Pavilion. This matter was truly disappointing to him. Under everyone's gazes, Yiling's gaze slowly shifted towards Wu Zhong. His handsome face was covered in indifference as the corners of his mouth curled into a disdainful arc. "I never imagined that I would really see you here. You've really disappointed me." Unfilial son. Chairman Ye's expression changed as he angrily rebuked. "How dare you speak to someone from the Windfall Pavilion like that? Kneel down and apologize." The Windfall Pavilion's potential was extremely great, and even that lord thought highly of the Windfall Pavilion. If it was not for that lord's orders, he would not have used this method to curry favor with the Windfall Pavilion. Chapter 191. Yi Long smiled disdainfully and ignored Director Yi. His piercingly cold eyes stared straight at Wu Zhong, sending chills down one's spine. Chairman Ye's words gave Wu Zhong a feeling of sudden enlightenment. Why had he not realized that Yiling was the third prince of flowing gold country, Yiling? No wonder he has a grudge against the imperial family. Even though he had been forced to leave his home as a hostage for a few years, he would still harbor hatred towards the people who had abandoned him. Unfilial son, kneel at once. Director Yi saw that Yiling did not respond, and his tone became even more serious as he coldly ordered, "Kneel? I'm afraid he can't bear it." Yiling's handsome face lit up with mockery as he slowly asked, "Am I right, Steward Wu Zhong?" Wu Zhong laughed dryly. "Deputy Pavilion Leader is right. Even if I were given the courage of the heavens, I would never dare to ask the Deputy Pavilion Leader to kneel before me. I would never do something so disrespectful." Despite his dissatisfaction towards Yiling, Wu Zhong did not dare to refute him under such circumstances. Hence, he had no choice but to acknowledge Yiling's identity. However, his words were like a sudden clap of thunder that exploded in the crowd. Director Yi rose to his feet and stared fixedly at Wu Zhong's smiling face. His tightly clenched fists trembled as he asked, "What did you just call Yiling? Deputy Pavilion Leader?" That's right. Wu Zhong's eyes darkened as he replied with a faint smile. He's the pavilion leader of Windfall Pavilion. Thump! Chairman Yi staggered and fell heavily into his seat. His face was pale, and his heart was trembling violently. He was in a daze, and he was unable to recover from this reality. Yi Ling is the steward of Windfall Pavilion? It was laughable that he had given up a ready-made deputy pavilion leader to befriend Steward. How could he have known that the deputy pavilion leader of Windfall Pavilion was his own son? After all, how could he not know how powerful this kid is? No matter how talented he was, he could not possibly order a high spiritualist around. Buffon stared blankly at this nephew that he hadn't seen for a few years. He suddenly realized that he could no longer see through his nephew. However, if his sister's spirit in heaven saw the changes in him, she would definitely feel extremely gratified. Did you just say that Empress Rong told you that I love you? And you actually believed it? Yin Luofeng slowly walked towards Wu Zhong. The corners of her lips curled into a smile. Her pitch-black eyes were incomparably deep, making it impossible for anyone to see through her gaze. When she arrived in front of Wu Zhong, the young girl stopped and raised her eyebrows slightly. I don't know where you get your confidence from to think that I would love someone like you who is already half a foot in the grave. Wu Zhong's face sank. He feared Yi Ling because Yi Ling was the deputy pavilion leader of the Windfall Pavilion. Even if this young woman had curried favor with the deputy pavilion leader, it was impossible for her to shake his position in the Windfall Pavilion. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly. On the mainland, as long as a man has money and power, there will be countless beautiful women throwing themselves at him. So of course I have this confidence. Is that so? Yin Luofeng laughed evilly. If your power was given to you by the Windfall Pavilion, then the Windfall Pavilion can strip you of your power right now. If you're so confident because you're a high spiritualist, I can cripple your Dantian. Remember, I, Yin Luofeng, will never accept betrayal. Chapter 192. Yin Luofeng's voice was very soft, so soft that only she and Wu Zhong could hear it. Wu Zhong could not help but be stunned when he heard the young girl's words. Something flashed through his mind, and he almost caught it. Windfall Pavilion? Yin Luofeng? The master of Windfall Pavilion had the surname Yin? Wu Zhong finally thought of something from this aspect. His entire body froze in an instant, and his face turned deathly pale in an instant. No, impossible. How could the master of Windfall Pavilion be such a young girl? If it was not her, why was Yi Ling by her side, and why did her name coincidentally have the two words Windfall in it? God, he actually thought that the master of Windfall Pavilion would admire him for power? The entire Windfall Pavilion belonged to her. Why would she cling on to a mere steward? Once he understood this, Wu Zhong's expression grew uglier. Whenever he thought of how Empress Rong had lied to him, a wave of hatred surged in his heart. Director Yi had recovered from his initial shock. He coughed dryly and said, "My son, why didn't you say so earlier as the assistant head of Windfall Pavilion? Since you've left Long Yuan country's control, you are still the prince of Flowing Gold Nation." Before this, Director Yi had sent Yi Ling to prison, and after learning of his identity, he had acknowledged him as his son. The two completely different attitudes made Yi Ling laugh coldly. "I'm afraid I don't have the fortune to enjoy the identity of Flowing Gold Nation's third prince. Other than that, I'm here to ask you something. Who killed Yin Yang and his wife?" "You." Director Yi was about to explode in anger when he heard Yi Ling's last sentence. His expression changed, and he snorted coldly. That bastard Yin Yang was useless and died on the battlefield. Everyone knows this. Why are you asking this now? Director Ye's eyes flickered as he spoke, avoiding the topic. "Is that true?" Suddenly, a chuckle could be heard. Yin Luofeng raised his brows slightly and looked at Director Ye's evasive gaze. If it wasn't for Flowing Gold Nation's honey trap, Mu Xingqiu wouldn't have revealed the secret. However, just revealing the secret alone wouldn't have killed them. I just want to know who killed them. Hearing the girl's voice, Chairman Ye's heart skipped a beat. "Who are you? What is your relationship with Yin Yang and his wife?" Yin Luofeng sneered. I am Yun Yang and his wife's daughter, Yun Luophone. Ibu Fan shook his head helplessly when he heard Yun Luophone announce his name. He never thought that he would still have to face such a scene in the end. One was the emperor of the flowing gold kingdom, and the other was the daughter of the person he deeply loved. What choice should he make? Are you Yun Yang and Bai Ling's daughter? Director Ye's expression changed completely. A hint of vigilance appeared in his eyes. What are you doing here? He did not expect Bai Ling's daughter to be here. No wonder he felt that this girl looked familiar from the beginning. She was Bai Ling's daughter. Whether it was her eyebrows or her facial features, they were exactly the same as Bai Ling. He actually could not recognize her at first. Yidong wasn't the same as Ibu Fan. Ibu Fan loved Bai Ling to the bone, and every frown and smile of hers was deeply engraved in his soul. Thus, he was able to see through Yun Luofeng's identity with a single glance. However, other people who had seen Bai Ling would only feel that Yun Luofeng looked familiar if they did not have a deep understanding of her. They would not be able to recognize her as Bai Ling's daughter. Chapter 193. I've told you. I'm here to find out who's the real culprit behind their deaths. Yun Luofeng slowly stepped forward. The peerlessly beautiful smile on her face carried a sense of danger like a poppy. Her slightly narrowed black eyes flashed with a cold light as she stared at Director Yi, who was seated high up on the throne. Director Yi returned to his senses and scoffed icily at Yun Luofeng. How can there be no casualties in a war between two countries? Yun Luofeng, what's the point of you coming here to dwell on this? We're already being merciful by not arresting you as a spy. Guards, take this woman away. He waved his hand and ordered coldly. I'd like to see who dares. Yi Ling walked towards Yun Luofeng's side and stared fearlessly at the ashen-faced Director Yi. His handsome face lit up with a disdainful smile as he said, Today, I won't let you touch her. All these years, Director Yi had never cared about him. In his heart, there had always been Empress Rome and her son. Hence, he had long been disappointed in this father in name. In comparison, it was Yun Luofeng who had given him a new lease of life. He had pulled himself together and given him the chance to take his revenge. Director Ye's expression changed, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. My son, even though you're the master of Zephyr Pavilion, you're still my son. Disobeying me is considered unfilial. If you don't want to be an unfilial son, step down. Not only will I let bygones be bygones, I will also make you the crown prince. Yi Ling laughed icily as his handsome face lit up with disdain. He clearly did not take Director Ye's words to heart. I don't care for the position of crown prince. How could the position of crown prince compare to being by Yun Luofeng's side? Hence, even if Director Yi were to step down now, he would not stay any longer. Just as Director Yi was about to lose his temper, a powerful force slammed into his mind with a loud bang, causing his body to tremble violently. In an instant, his mind went blank and his eyes turned lifeless from their initial anger. His gaze was now unfocused. The girl's voice was bewitching and lazy. She continued to tempt him. Tell me what happened that year, including the cause of my parents' death. Tell me everything you know. Chairman Yi looked at Yun Luofeng blankly. More than 10 years ago, I saw Bai Ling. She was so beautiful that even the gods were moved by her beauty, let alone a mere mortal like me. It was inevitable that his heart would be moved when he saw her. It was also during that period of time that the son of an official from my flowing gold country accidentally killed a prince of the Long Yuan country. Actually, for such a small matter, as long as I hand over the son of the official, I would be able to avoid a war. However, I was still trying to find an excuse to start a war with the Long Yuan country. Therefore, I decided to start a war with the Long Yuan country. These words were like a heavy weight that caused the figures of all the officials in the hall to tremble, and they seemed as if they'd suffered an extremely great shock. Among them, Ibu Fan had the biggest reaction. He had always thought that Chairman Yi was fighting against the Long Yuan nation to protect the citizens of the Flowing Gold Nation. Even if the Flowing Gold Kingdom was in the wrong, he would still take up his weapon and fight. However, he never thought that the real cause of the war between the two countries was Chairman Ye's lust for beauty. Suddenly he laughed. His laughter was filled with endless bitterness as his disappointed gaze fell upon Chairman Yi, who was seated on the dragon throne. So, in the end, those blood-soaked generals and soldiers had sacrificed themselves because of his selfishness. This kind of sacrifice was not worth it. Chapter 194. All the officials realized that something was wrong with Director Yi, but they were still in shock from the news. No one stepped forward to stop him, but they were still digesting his words. So, how did my parents die? Yun Luofeng's dark eyes were calm as she raised her beautiful face to look at Director Yi and continued to ask. Humph. Director Ye's voice was fierce. It's all because that woman, Bai Ling, dared to reject me. At that time, I sent someone to send her a letter. If she was willing to follow me, I would retreat immediately. However, she tore my letter and said that I was a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Was it not? Compared to Bai Ling, who was as beautiful as a flower, Director Yi had nothing good about him other than his status as an emperor. How could she give up on a young major general and choose a fatuous emperor who was addicted to beauty? So, you plotted to kill them? Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed dangerously. Even her tone was tinged with a murderous intent. Of course not. Chairman Yi harumphed. Bai Ling is a married woman. It's her honor that I'm willing to marry her. How dare she insult me? I'm going to get this woman and find 800 spiritual beasts to humiliate her. This is the price she has to pay for rejecting me. Ibufon's heart gradually turned cold. He slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, he did not know what kind of cruel torture awaited Bai Ling if she was really captured by the Flowing Gold Kingdom. He had claimed that Bai Ling was the woman he loved, but he had never protected her well. He had even helped such a fatuous emperor to hurt her. He regretted it. This was the first time Ibufon regretted being so loyal. He did not hesitate to give up his love for a dog emperor. What a pity. Director Yi shook his head and said regretfully, I don't know who Bai Ling offended, but she died on the battlefield. It's such a pity for such a beautiful woman. She's already dead before I could have her. Yun Luofeng fell silent. Her eyes were dark and deep. No one could tell what she was thinking. Just now, she had used her power to control Director Ye's soul and forced him to tell her the answer she wanted to know. Therefore, it was impossible for Director Yi to lie. He really did not know the mastermind behind the couple's death soon. Yun Luofeng's frown relaxed, and a glint flashed across her eyes. Young lady, Qingyan was a little nervous. She stood anxiously beside Yun Luofeng, her delicate face filled with anxiety. She did not expect that not only did she fail to find out the truth, she had also exposed herself. Would her young lady not be in danger? Qingyan, I've already gotten the result I wanted. We'll talk about the rest when we get back. Yun Luofeng raised his lips and smiled. He should wake up now. As soon as he finished speaking, the focus in Chairman Ye's eyes gradually returned. However, he was still a little confused as he had just woken up. After a while, he suddenly recalled what he had just said, and his expression changed drastically. What did you do to me just now? Yiling. Yun Luofeng's gaze had long since left Chairman Ye's body. He smiled lazily. Today's mission is complete. Take Wu Zhong and come with me. Chapter 195. How dare you? Seeing that they were about to leave, Director Yi slammed the table and stood up furiously. General Yi, stop these people. As if he hadn't heard this order, Ibufon stood upright in the main hall, his eyes full of disappointment and mockery. He didn't even lift a hand to stop Yun Luofeng and the others as they walked past him. General Yi, how dare you disobey my order? Director Yi's expression changed as he shouted angrily. However, Ibufon still didn't move. He was as cold as a statue and didn't move at all. Bang! Watching the young girl and the others gradually disappear, Director Yi felt as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. He suddenly fell back onto his throne and laughed in extreme anger. Good, very good, Ibufon. You're really a good person. You don't even listen to my order. What use do I have for you? Ibufon took 2 steps forward and bowed deeply as he said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, Your Majesty, the third prince is the deputy pavilion leader of Luofeng Pavilion. No matter how capable this official is, I can't stop him. If your majesty thinks that this official is useless, you can take off this official's black hat and give it to someone who is useful. You, Director Yi trembled with anger. He really wanted to kill this guy this time. However, the number of strong cultivators in Flowing Gold Nation was decreasing, and he really didn't have the determination to kill Ibu Fan. Guards, General Yi disobeyed the imperial order. He's in seclusion and is not allowed to come out without my order. Director Yi stood up with an ashen face, flung his sleeves fiercely, and turned to leave. Luofeng Pavilion. Qing Yin looked at the young girl who was sitting at the table and sipping tea. In the end, she couldn't help asking, "Miss, weren't we too impulsive today? Not only have we not found a murderer, but our target has also been exposed." Yin Luofeng put down the tea in her hand, and an evil smile appeared on her lips. "I knew long ago that the person who killed my parents wasn't Director Yi. It can't be him either." Suddenly, Yi Ling's words to her appeared in her mind. "Empress Rome, let's see how long you can stay calm this time, what?" Surprise appeared in Qing Yan's eyes. "Since you already knew that the young general wasn't killed by the people from the imperial family, why did you still find trouble with Director Yi?" "Because only by seeing the emperor will I have the chance to understand who killed my parents." Yin Luofeng smiled. "And the move I'm using right now is called luring the snake out of its hole. Right now, we only need to wait here, and we will soon know the answer." Qing Yin blinked her eyes, her clear eyes staring at Yin Luofeng without blinking. She didn't know why, but the current young miss gave her a calm and steady feeling. Using a phrase to describe it, it was that she held the universe in her hands and had a clear mind. It was as if nothing in this world could stop her. "Qing Yin, bring Wu Zhong here." Yin Luofeng's smile carried a hint of danger. "I've said it before, I won't accept any betrayal. I won't let off anyone who betrays me." "Yes, Mississippi." Qing Yin accepted the order and retreated. Before long, Wu Zhong walked into the room under the escort of Qing Yin and Yi Ling. His expression was extremely unsightly, and his brows sank slightly. Obviously, he was thinking of a countermeasure. "Wu Zhong, do you know your crime?" Yun Luofeng crossed her legs and raised her brows in an unruly manner. Her black eyes turned to Wu Zhong as she asked. "I'm not guilty." Wu Zhong raised his head and looked straight at Yun Luofeng. "I was set up by Empress Rong in this matter. At the end of the day, I'm also a victim, so I don't admit my crime." Chapter 196. I'll give you one last chance. Are you going to admit your mistake? The girl's tone was domineering, arrogant, and unruly. She leaned lazily against the chair as she asked lazily. Wu Zhong's expression changed abruptly. He gritted his teeth and said, "I don't know what your relationship with Yi Ling is, but Yi Ling and I founded Windfall Pavilion. What have you done in the past 6 months? You've made no contributions to Windfall Pavilion, so why should I acknowledge you as my master? She's only a 14-year-old girl. What abilities could she have?" Yi Ling must have taken a fancy to this lass, and in order to curry favor with her, she established this Windfall Pavilion. Even though he did not have a good impression of Yi Ling, he could not help but admire her for being a genius. As for Yun Luofeng, he had long heard that General Yin Luo had a good-for-nothing granddaughter. As a good-for-nothing, what right did she have for him to serve her? Wu Zhong. Yi Ling's expression turned cold. "Apologize to master." Wu Zhong sneered. "When I didn't know her identity, I might have thought of her as a disciple from one of those secluded sections. Otherwise, what ability does a 14-year-old girl have to make you swear loyalty to her? But now, after finding out that she's Yin Luo's granddaughter, I no longer have such naive thoughts. Yi Ling, if you want to please this girl, then do it yourself. Don't drag the entire Windfall Pavilion down with you. What right does a good-for-nothing have to become my master?" He did not seem to feel the chill from Yi Ling's body as he glared at her coldly. "If you don't want to be the deputy pavilion leader, then get lost. I don't want Windfall Pavilion, which I've spent so much effort on, to be destroyed in your hands." Yi Ling's expression grew colder and colder as the chill from his body thickened. Just as he was about to make a move, a slender arm reached out from the side and stopped him. "You're saying that I don't have the right to manage Windfall Pavilion?" Yin Luofeng raised his brows and asked with a smile. That's right. Wu Zhong raised his head arrogantly. You and Yi Ling don't have a right. Oh, the smile on Yun Luofeng's face deepened. So you're saying that only you have a right? If none of you have the ability to manage Windfall Pavilion, I can only do it on your behalf. Wu Zhong looked at Yun Luofeng disdainfully. I won't allow a good-for-nothing to destroy the foundation I've painstakingly built. Yi Ling looked at Wu Zhong as if he was an idiot. If Yun Luofeng was still trash, then what were they? Furthermore, he actually had the cheek to claim that he was the only one who could manage the Windfall Pavilion. Yi Ling, I once said that my people do not need to be too talented. They only need to be loyal. But now you have disappointed me. Yun Luofeng shook his head. This is the person you've raised in the past half a year? Hearing this, Yi Ling hurriedly knelt on the ground. Master, this is subordinate's fault. Please forgive me, Master. Remember, don't make the same mistake next time. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yi Ling, then retracted his gaze. His evil black eyes turned to Wu Zhong, curled the corners of his lips, and slowly rose. You just said that only you have the right to control the Windfall Pavilion? I didn't know that you were so ambitious. Wu Zhong frowned slightly. He looked at Yun Luofeng, who was walking towards him, and a sense of unease rose in his heart. If it was really as he thought, Yi Ling had taken a liking to this girl and had done so many things to please her. But there was no need for him to kneel before her. Could Yi Ling do such a humiliating thing? Chapter 197. What do you want? Wu Zhong snapped out of his thoughts and realized that Yun Luofeng had already walked in front of him. Instantly, he felt a gust of cold wind blow against his face, causing his entire body to shiver. Even he did not understand why this 14-year-old girl could make him feel so oppressed. He had not felt this way even when he was facing a cultivator who was stronger than him in the past. Don't you want to be in charge of Luofeng Pavilion? Yun Luofeng raised her brows and said condescendingly, Since that's the case, I can satisfy your ambition. As long as you can defeat me, the position of Pavilion Master of Luofeng Pavilion will be yours. Wu Zhong could not believe such a good thing and stared at Yun Luofeng with wide eyes. Was she sure that if he defeated her, she would abdicate her position? Are you telling the truth? Wu Zhong's eyes sparkled with excitement. He had never thought that he would obtain the position of Luofeng Pavilion so easily. That's right. Yun Luofeng crossed her arms and glanced sideways at him. She curled the corners of her lips. In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. If I'm really no match for you, it's natural for you to become the Pavilion Master of Luofeng Pavilion. But she paused, an evil glint flashing across her black eyes. Once you attack me, you'll be branded as a traitor. Are you sure you want to do this? Hee. Wu Zhong ignored the initial uneasiness in his heart. He licked the corners of his lips and laughed sinisterly. The position of Pavilion Master has always been for the capable. I have the ability, so naturally, I'm not willing to miss this opportunity. Furthermore, you're just a useless thing. Before he could finish his sentence, there was a loud bang. A slender, jade-like hand containing an extremely powerful force suddenly landed on Wu Zhong's chest. Before his brain could react, his body slammed against the snow-white wall. The dust on the wall fell and covered Wu Zhong's body. He clutched his chest and stood up. There was a raging fire in his chest. Yun Luofeng, boom! A leg swept over from the side and ruthlessly kicked him in the face. His body was suddenly swept away and directly smashed a hole in the wall. Get up. She raised her eyebrows slightly, and there was an evil light in her dark eyes. She said arrogantly, Continue. Wu Zhong spat out a mouthful of blood amidst the rubble of the collapsed wall. His left cheek was bruised, and his eyes were filled with anger and disbelief. You're not trash? Who was the one who said that the granddaughter of the Long Yuan country's general was a piece of trash? Have you ever seen a piece of trash injure a high spiritualist like him? If the person who was spreading the rumor that Yun Luofeng was trash appeared, he guaranteed that he wouldn't beat him to death. Everyone says that I'm trash, but they've forgotten that no one in this world is born trash. Yun Luofeng's eyes were arrogant as he glanced unruly at Wu Zhong. Wu Zhong, If you want to be the pavilion master of Fallen Wind Pavilion so much, it's not that I won't give you a chance. As long as you can touch the corner of my clothes, I'll still give this position to you. Arrogant. Wu Zhong snorted coldly. So what if this little girl wasn't a good-for-nothing? I'm an advanced spiritualist, after all, so how can I not even touch the corner of her clothes? Thinking of this, Wu Zhong looked up at Yun Luo Feng.